Wow. Welcome everyone to Final Fantasy VI Worlds Collide Randomizer. Our little meme run today is Oops, All Moogles. And I am joined on commentary by one of our executive Moogles in the Worlds Collide Discord, Ravlin.
Good evening to all of the Moogles, Chocobos, and Tonberries out there. I am ready to see this meme run, and I am a little disappointed that the verification hash isn't all Moogles as well, but you can't win them all.
Yeah, fortunately, I wouldn't know how to arrange that, or else I would have done it if that were possible. So, but there is a secret to that you're going to have to tell me next time.
I am the other kind of executive Moogle. I know nothing about the programming.
All right. So this is Worlds Collide Randomizer. The way that it differs from most, I'll just explain really quick. So you have the option in this randomizer, as you do with many others, to set character sprites. And so all of the characters that are possible to change in the game, including all 14 of our recruitable characters and a large portion of the NPCs, including all the important ones, are Moogles, just like Mog and the rest of his folk that you meet several times during the game. So there are going to be Moogles everywhere. And to back that up, my objective in the game is to collect all 14 of the Moogles that we can get in our party and run with them. So I'm going to go ahead and get started in 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, we go. So, Ravlin, do you want to go ahead and explain Worlds Collide to these people and what this randomizer is?
Absolutely, I would love to. So Worlds Collide is an open world style randomizer. You'll notice that instead of starting off in Narsh with Terra in some Magitech armor, we are starting off with an airship in the World of Balance. We have Locke and Realm. Those two characters will open up a certain number of checks. A check can be something like for Locke, he can go through the South Figaro Cave to fight the boss at the location of Tunnel Armor. Once you complete a check, it will give you a reward, which will either be another character, an Esper, or a high-tier item, such as an Illumina or Ragnarok or a Lance or other high-tier items. So throughout this game, we're going to be going through first thing we're doing here is we're going to be looting chests. Chests, shops are all randomized, so what you would expect to find in a chest here, you will not necessarily find there. For example, there was a thief glove in the clock, which would normally hold an elixir. Other things that are randomized are boss locations. So if you go to that tunnel armor spot, you will almost certainly not find tunnel armor, but it is possible to find a boss in the vanilla spot. Our enemies are scaled to the number of checks that we've done, I believe, to the number of characters, espers, and dragons we have killed. For every character we get, Esper we get, or dragon we kill, the enemies will gain 2 levels, so that they will sort of follow our scaling progression as we go through this seed. Other things that are randomized, our characters have different abilities, or have the possibility of different abilities. Once again, it is possible to get the vanilla command here. Did you get a chance to go through and see what abilities our characters had?
Yes, Locke has Slot and Realm has Runic. 2 not great abilities. They do have pretty good stats, but I'm going to need to get some sort of better tool from them before I can do a lot or gain some levels. One of the things that I am not so much a real racer of this game, or the guy who really plays it fast. I tend to be a lot more casual, and I'm also somewhat on the neurotic side, so I tend to take it a lot more easy and sometimes even do some early grinding, especially if I don't have a lot of good tools that I can use in order to just gain some levels so that I can safely deal with the first couple of bosses. Because one of our normal settings is to give bosses XP, which doesn't happen in vanilla Final Fantasy VI. Once you start killing a couple of bosses, your levels will go up so fast that you'll be pretty much ahead of the curve and able to deal with most battles with a few exceptions. Sometimes bad bosses and bad locations who are immune to most of your good tools can still cause a problem, but for the most part, once you're underway, the game is a lot easier. But these first few levels, even though the bosses are also low level, it's really tough to beat some of the first bosses, especially if you get a bad luck on a high level one. Fire Rod is helpful though.
Absolutely. So this is a character-gated seed. Ceiling Cat, one of our other admins in the Worlds Collide Discord, just asked in the chat, and I did want to make sure to note that. I will also say slots can, if you can regularly hit either Chocobop or 7 Flush, pump out relatively consistent damage. You know, you're not going to break the bank over it, but it's not terrible. And Runic definitely has some niche situations and can really save your bacon if you find yourself against a boss that's throwing out a lot of really scary spells.
Yeah, if we were to go into the Narsh Cave and found, as he was talking about, the vanilla Magitech armor, the
Tunnel armor?
The tunnel armor, yeah. My mind blanked for a second there. That would, Runic is actually, it's intended for that fight. That's the tutorial fight for it. You can just have one character using Runic while the other is doing damage with some other tool. I didn't like a whole lot of what I found there, so I'm going to go ahead and try and gather up some more here, maybe fight a few battles in Narsha's mines and see if they're easy enough to beat to give me a couple of safety levels.
Yep. Absolutely. So typically when one is starting out a Worlds Collide seed, you are going to find a lot of this sort of looting and treasure finding for the first maybe 5 to 15 minutes, depending on how the looting goes. I mean, if you open up your first chest and you find an Aura Lance, you might not take as much time to loot as if, you open up your first 15 chests and the best thing you find is a Fire Rod.
Vanilla here. Okay, well, that's a tiny bit of experience. Whoops, that was too fast.
Yep. So our monster in a box chests are in vanilla locations, but they are randomized as to what monster is in each box. So it was entirely possible that we could have opened that up and found a Katana Soul, which would have been really good to know where it was, but also would have been a wipe.
Yep, which is why I saved beforehand. There are very few of the chests that I can actually beat at this stage with the few tools I have, but I do like to know, because that Katana Soul is the one that I really care about. Sometimes the Tiger Fang from Aloe Vera, but most of the rest of them aren't all that big a deal. Okay, Ribbon helps make one of my decisions easier. I am actually going to go check out the Cursed Shield pretty early, since I have a ribbon to deal with that.
Absolutely, especially if you're doing a seed that's probably going to be close to 100%, because we have to get all 14 characters. That means there's going to be lots and lots of checks that we need to do. There will be lots of opportunities for battles to uncurse that shield. We are not quite as intense, let's say, as vanilla. We do not require 255 battles to uncurse the shield. It is a randomized number. When the guy who's dying gives us the shield, he will tell us a number, and that is how many battles we have to fight. For those battles to count, they do have to give you MP at the end, and you cannot equip it on either Umaro or Gogo and have it have the battles count.
The worst part about the Cursed Shield is that it applies a large number of status effects to the character wearing it. The worst of which are Confuse. I think Confuse is the main one you worry about. So you need an item, if you're equipped with a relic like Ribbon that prevents a Confused status ailment, you at least have control of your character. A Ribbon, of course, prevents all status ailments except for the Doom status. So it's very handy to combine with a Cursed Shield so that at the very least you don't have to worry about being poisoned and silenced and, of course, confused and hitting your party members. Nothing's... Well, actually, that probably would be worth buying for Locke at this stage.
Correct. We have, a lot of options here when it comes to equipment. The equipment is typically sent set to be original equipment plus a random selection of other equipment, which is why Realm can equip those Doom Darts. That is not normally a weapon that she equips. That is normally a weapon for Setzer. But those Doom Darts, because they do cast Doom occasionally when attacking, there are a couple of bosses that it is possible to cheese through with that Doom. But it's not really something you want to rely on. That's something that's nice if it happens, but I don't want to count on it.
Yeah. Coronet is a nice find. It's one of 2 super helms that is unique to Realm, at least in vanilla. Sometimes certain other characters can use it, but since I have Realm, I know that she can equip that immediately, and that's very nice to find. Helms are a little bit rarer to find really good ones compared to armor. So if you find yourself a cat hood, especially if you have early Realm, then you're extremely happy.
Yep. There is a very strong argument to be made that cat hood is basically the only good helmet in the game. I don't think that's necessarily 100% a correct read. There are a couple other ones that are worth your time, but they are not wonderful. So right here, the shop here gives us our first Esper, Unicorn. Life 2 is not bad, and that HP plus 50% with every level up, that will add up over time, especially if we just throw it on one of our level 3 characters and just sort of let it ride the entire seed. So the Doomgaze fight can work in one of 2 ways. It is still randomly flying around the world. So if you're not careful in the World of Ruin, it can just appear and make your day real sad. Or once you have Setzer in your party, it becomes an option called Search the Skies when you talk to the controls of the airship to take off. Our Curse Shield only takes 7 battles. This is something that, we might want to save right outside of here, throw that shield on, see what the enemies are right outside of the Narsh Beginner's House. Because there is that bucket right there, we might be able to just, smack through a few quick fights, heal ourselves up, and then, have ourselves a Paladin shield very early in the game.
Okay, this is not too bad of a fight. I maybe ought to swap the shield onto Kushu, though, instead, because the Curse Shield reduces all your stats by 7. It's actually the only... Yeah, and she's got Doom Dart, so that's not good to be attacking with her either. Okay, it didn't proc the Doom. Many of the weapons that cast Doom on enemies, if it happens to a undead, it will kill it, and then it will immediately reform at full hit points, so that's rather annoying.
Yeah, that can get very, very obnoxious.
So I think I'm actually going to go ahead and do that and give him earrings instead. Walrein is actually fine at this point, too. No. Okay, there. Okay, Riven Curse Shield on her, so now, okay.
Absolutely. So, also with Worlds Collide, you will notice that a lot of the text and cutscenes have all been removed as much as we can. Going through the beginning cutscenes and some of the longer text boxes just tend to not be what we're looking for in our randomizer experience here. So we've taken them out in favor of doing other things, although it is still possible to find the opera scene, like actually singing in the opera scene is possible, and unfortunately Double Exploder is going to be a no good, horrible, very bad day. But that happens. But that's why we save before we do this. Again, I do think, getting those 7 battles is going to be definitely worth it. It'll probably get us up to level, 10 or so. That's going to put us ahead of the game, and we'll will allow us to have a paladin shield, which is basically going to solve a lot of problems.
Paladin Shield is arguably the most powerful item in the entire game. It makes you immune to 4 elements and absorb the other 4, so only non-elemental damage can harm you. Yeah, let's go ahead and resave so I don't have to do that again.
It also boosts just a whole bunch of your stats.
Yes, provides a large amount. It's the best. These guys again. Might be best just to run from this fight, maybe, depending on if if an attack triggers the exploder or if it's just something they do.
You know, truth be told, I do not actually know because these enemies are not super common.
Same.
I have a fairly in-depth knowledge of both vanilla Final Fantasy VI and Worlds Collide in general, but this one's a little bit outside my knowledge.
Oh.
I do think that 7 flush should be enough to kill, but unfortunately it won't give any credit for the cursed shield because the character who had it equipped is not among the world of the waking. So we'll go splash some water on the Moogle and try this again.
I think I'm just going to run from those fights because I don't think they're worth going in. We do know that there is a very doable fight here as well, so unless that's the rare encounter.
I'm thinking it might be. Although with Kukik getting that high level...
Yeah, if I can get these off consistently enough. Alright, I'll do another save after this, I think. So that's 1 battle down. That isn't quite enough to kill, but the exploders won't kill either at this point. Exploder does damage equal to its remaining hit points, and that nearly killed, so the fact that it has 8 life left means nothing. Okay.
And again, now that we are levels 10 and 9, there's not going to be a lot of danger even from those, because while we have been leveling up, those junks have not been leveling up. Currently, all of the enemies should be level 6, I believe, because we have 2 characters and 1 Esper.
This is a slightly more dangerous looking fight. Okay, they're not that bad.
Launcher is a very, very mean ability. It is effectively multiple casts of quarter, I believe, that get spread among the party semi-randomly.
But the good news is that unless your HP are very low, very, very low, it can't kill. Since it is a percentage-based ability, so... Since there's nobody left in the battle that was not... Oh yes, I forgot that this side is actually counts. It's been a while since I've not had...
Oh dear.
I was doing battles outside because I actually forgot that we were in the World of Ruin and Narsh counts as a dungeon instead of a... These battles are very doable, though actually now I could probably deal with these as well, as long as I'm full, so I might as well stay inside. Reduce the chance of that happening again. Here's another really easy battle.
Yep, this is a battle from, I believe, the field right outside of South Figaro in the World of Balance. So it's something you are facing just after you do Figaro Castle when you have Locke, Edgar, and Terra. The random knowledge that just sits in my brain rent-free about this game is boggles me. And also, for those who are watching who might not be aware, Worlds Collide is a open world randomizer. We are open We have a Discord. Please come join us. Come play along if you are interested and intrigued by what you're seeing. I will also say that there are things such as a Moogles First Seed series where you can have sort of a little bit more of a curated first play experience where you can play through with a video, uh, you know, sort of walking you through your first Worlds Collide experience in case you don't want to just sort of jump into the deep end and, play a true Chaos Seed.
The good news is that while the abilities we started with are not top tier, both of these characters have decent stats already, and both of them rolled pretty darn good stats. Locke is sitting at a 47 speed and over a 30 magic, while Kushu has over a 50 magic and mid-30 speed as well. So both of these characters very strong to start off with. So once we start getting a few other abilities, they will be very, very good. Okay, that was the last one. We've dispelled our curse, throw the Moogle Charm back on, and now we can just go and start hunting down bosses and...
Yep, and I would 100% make sure to save outside so that we don't have to do this again.
Yes, absolutely.
So you will notice that some of the merchant NPCs, townspeople, those sprites were not changed. We do not currently have the ability to change every single sprite in the game, but there will be a few moments here where there will be lots and lots of Moogles on screen, I promise.
There will be certain checks that we'll do that will be very full of Moogles. Which we'll go there when we get to them. Normally, the biggest problem from a runner perspective of this type of seed is in situations like this. With the character running there, when you do this vanilla, Realm is the character who's running around here shortly before you meet her. So in the randomizer, whatever character could be there would replace... okay. Replaces that. So you can check ahead of time before you do this boss fight if it's a character you could recruit, because if it is, it'll be whoever it is. You'll see Locke or Zealous or Strago. But if it is instead an item or an Esper, you would see a merchant or a imp or a ghost or a soldier, one of the NPCs selected to give you items. But since everybody are Moogles, including those, it is a slightly... there are only a few checks that I can look at ahead of time to know if they're going to have a character for me or not.
I think that would be what Daryl's Tomb will tell you. And that's only moderately useful because you've already gone through the entire check.
Yep, and the boss fight happens immediately after that.
And World of Ruin Mobley is one of Terra's checks will allow you to do that.
Yeah. Also Umaro. Because in Umaro's check, if you go by the cave where Umaro sticks his head out of in the World of Balance, if it is a character, the character will poke their head through, but if it isn't a character, nobody shows up.
Very, very true. So we have defeated Funbaba. One thing to note that this is Funbaba 4. There are multiple versions of Funbaba that you can and do end up fighting in vanilla. Funbaba 3 is the one that has Baba Breath and will blow you out of the battle. We have a setting so that particular Funbaba is not among the randomization, so that you don't have to deal with him.
Into the chest. Whoops. Sorry, go on.
If Funbaba 3 is in the randomization, he almost always appears in Kepka's Tower, and if that happens and he Baba Breaths your people away, they go all the way back to the airship. This has never happened to me during a community race. For everyone that's been playing a seed that I designed at all, no, why would you ask me such a question?
Wow, so that's the reason why, huh? That's a rather interesting little thing. I assume the same thing might happen in Phoenix Cave then.
Phoenix Cave would do it. Fanatic's Tower would do it. Um, really any of those places where you would want to keep your party together for a little while longer. A Funbaba 3 is not a fun Baba. I believe we've only had 2 or 3 community seeds, like community race seeds, where Funbaba 3 has been in the pool, and I think in 2 out of those 3 seeds, that Funbaba has been in Kefka's Tower.
So here's a interesting little tidbit about this cave here, as well as the Narsh caves. In the vanilla game, those chests will upgrade twice if you never loot them. It's actually the best known application of that is in the general speedrun. There's a Thunder Rod at the end of this cave. If you open the chest during the lock segment, you don't open it when you first come through, but when you come back with Lock and Steelus, you open it, and they use that to one-shot tunnel armor. But they'll actually upgrade again in the World of Ruin. Because of that, in the randomizer, these chests will, both the ones in the cave in Narsh and right here, will restock themselves in the World of Ruin. Most other dungeons or areas that share do not. You can't loot them in both worlds. Okay.
And here we have Air Force. Air Force is one of those bosses when you're fighting them in vanilla. They're not usually that bad, but they are something in the randomizer, depending on the particular settings that you have. Air Force can be a real pain. One of the other flags that I usually like to play with, because I enjoy playing high chaos seeds, is Normalize and Distort, which I note is not on for this particular one. But Normalize and Distort will basically boost up all of these quote-unquote weaker bosses' stats, and then pick one of their stats to increase massively. So, as a completely random example, having something like a Rexol with completely capped magic defense. That is what you call a nightmare.
Sounds like it.
But in the bosses that have multiple parts to them, like Air Force or Inferno or Rexol, any of those where there are multiple pieces to the boss, the vanilla game balances this by having those pieces having lower stats generally. So when Normalize and Distort comes in, everyone's stats gets boosted through the roof. So it becomes a much more challenging fight. Than it is typically. Decided to break that fire rod?
Yep, remembered I had it and thought, yeah, this looks like it's going to be a good time. I need to find me a more reliable character or some... I forgot to check the last Esper I got too to see if it had any good spells or something on it. So now I have 2 that potentially could. Flare, alright, and Bolt, plus speed plus 1. Slow 2 Imp Remedy, at least it's still learning life too. I think I'd rather learn that, I guess. Okay, still no character though, so our choices are... Okay, the checks I can still reach and get characters at are Kefka and Narsh, that I really want to save until later. Phoenix Cave, which I really want to save until later. And... Owzer's house. So that's our next stop, because that's the last one that will let me keep more than one person in my party.
So for a long time, Owzer's Mansion was one of the top tier early spots to go, because the battles in there were good grinding battles. Before it became common to randomize the location of the fixed encounters, or like what enemies you fought at these particular fixed locations, because they were known, they were relatively low danger but high reward because they were World of Ruin enemies. This was one of the favorite first stops for a lot of runners if you got an early realm. Flare is a very, very good spell in that it is completely, it is non-elemental, it pierces defense, it is relatively high power. The downside is it is single target and it is slow as heck.
Also, well, not that expensive. Not as expensive as some of the others, actually. At this stage, it would still be relatively expensive. I'd get 2 flare casts off and be done.
Yeah, and, 2 flare casts is not terrible, but also we want a little bit more than that.
Oh my. Might be better just to stick to attacking for... Yikes.
So, a single pug is not as bad as it could be.
Come on, give me some Hawkeye throws.
Good news about the randomizer is that step mine will almost never be a threat because you don't take as many steps in the randomizer because you kind of just know where you're going and you know what you want to do, and you're not wandering around trying to figure out where everything is. By the same token, 100 damage a shot when you've only got 400 HP does add up fairly quickly.
I haven't really bought a lot of healing items from the shops yet.
I don't know the answer to this question because it's never come up. I think you might be able to runic step mine.
Worth a shot. I can't remember if you runic blue magic or not, or only some blue magic. We'll give it a shot. Okay, there we go. I was on a losing streak for a little while. Nope, you cannot.
No. Well, it was worth a try, because I thought it was a single target blue magic. You might have been able to, but again, it's not something I've ever actually had the question of before, so I wasn't sure.
Oh, good. Yikes.
Go, that 35 magic points is going to be very valuable. I believe that got us Flare, importantly.
It did indeed.
And the XP wasn't bad either. Like, we're not going to complain about 1300 XP.
Nope.
There is an Atma weapon. So an Atma weapon is, in vanilla, an entirely oversold to you, the player, weapon. You are led to believe that it is an incredibly powerful weapon, like one of the ultimate weapons in the game, and it just kind of isn't. And that's due to the very, very strange way that the damage formulas on the Atma weapon work. At one point, I was able to actually tell you exactly what the physical attack damage formula for regular weapons was. And what Atma weapon does is it adds a multiplier to that formula that is your current percentage of your HP. So if you're at 50% HP, it will do 50% damage. But it also adds a level modifier where in vanilla, if you are under level 64, you will take a penalty to your damage. And if you're over level 64, you'll get a bonus. In Worlds Collide, we decided that was bad. and not useful because you're almost never going to get into the mid 60s in this game. So we've decided that we have the stronger Atma weapon flag, where now instead of it being level 64, it's level 32. And you're almost always going to get to level 32. So suddenly, the Atma weapon becomes a very, very powerful and useful weapon.
Yep. Because the one big advantage it has is that it ignores defense, and it also ignores the offering's half damage component. So when you combine that, especially a boosted Atma weapon with the offering, you have the capability of exceeding the damage cap of 10,000 damage in a single turn, and pretty easily. Okay.
Hey, look, it's one of my favorite 50s boy bands. It's Haydn and the Haydnites. This can be, again, a particularly dangerous enemy. Haydn does know some very, very powerful magic, such as Grand Train. In the vanilla, that is the only way for Strago to learn his ultimate lore of Grand Train. And we really, really hope not to see it, because that would be bad. But with all of these blocks and the very low amount of damage that that Kukik is taking here, is really showing off that that Paladin shield. You know, not only does it give you very high defenses, it gives you very high evade, and it makes you immune to all of the elements. It is an incredibly powerful shield. Truth be told, I think it is second in terms of item quality, only to the Illumina. The Illumina just gives you so many stats and so much power. I think it edges out a Paladin shield just by a hair.
Definitely a good argument to make for that. The Illumina gives even more evasion than the Paladin shield does, which is absurd. In addition to its +7 to all stats and highest attack power in the game. The Illumina is so powerful that in the GBA version, they added a bunch of super weapons for each individual character. And the Illumina is still stronger than every character's super weapon, which otherwise are stronger than any weapon you could get in the vanilla game. That's how broken the Illumina is.
Yes, and to be fair, in the vanilla game, to get an Illumina, you have to give up an Esper by choosing the Ragnarok Sword over the Ragnarok Esper, and then you have to bet the Ragnarok Sword in the Colosseum in a one-on-one fight where you don't have control over your character. So it's really good, but it's very risky. And there we go, Haydn and the Haydnites have gone down. Unfortunately, they will not be giving us a reprise of one of their greatest hits, the Grand Train Express. And you know what? I am okay with that. I feel like that's a little overplayed.
So now, are we rewarded with a character? Or is this going to be a yes? Go-Go, okay.
Go-Go is a very interesting character. Again, for those who have played Final Fantasy VI, you'll know that Go-Go comes base with just Mimic. He can mimic the last ability that he saw happen. But one thing I did not learn originally as a child, if you go to the status screen, you can give Go-Go any of the abilities that any of your other characters have. So if, for example, we could give Go-Go slots, and he could just use slots. A downside of Go-Go is that he cannot equip Espers and learn magic on his own. His magic list is just the magic list of everyone else in the party. And also, his stats are typically very, very low. As we see here, 20s and 30s are not very good.
Believe it or not, speed and magic power wise, this is a decently above average Go-Go. And it's still not super great.
like this Go-Go is a very, very good Go-Go, but he is not impressive by any other standards. And since we are in the Memeathon, let me look up my favorite theory about Go-Go. So have you heard any of the theories about who Go-Go is?
I have. My favorite was that Go-Go was Daryl.
All right, and just who is Go-Go, or who is Daryl rather?
Daryl is the former girlfriend of Setzer, who also owns the Falcon airship that you get in the World of Ruin, and died in a airship crash with it. Eventually, Setzer recovered it, restored it, hidden underground, and that's what you get in the World of Ruin. But the story I heard about that was that it looked like the island she crashed on was supposed to be this island of Go-Go's Cave, which is why I liked that. But yeah, character who apparently died in an airship crash, but decided to dress up as somebody mysterious.
So my favorite, which is a completely debunked theory, and I always get it wrong when I look it up, so I have to do a little bit of creative Googling every time, is in late 2000, in one of the online forums, someone posed the theory that Go-Go was Illinois Governor Adlai Stevenson.
Okay.
Because apparently in 1952, Adlai Stevenson, in response to being asked a question by a reporter about his baldness, he said, "I suppose I could wear a hat. The easiest course is to drape my whole body in robes and shawls and hope no one recognizes my eyes." Go-Go is not Adlai Stevenson. I'm just gonna put it out there.
I've heard some really good theories. There were a whole lot of them, too. Gestal was another popular one. Emperor Gestal survived, and he was actually Go-Go.
But, you know, every time I get the opportunity to talk about Go-Go's origins, I like to point out that there is someone who has made an argument that Go-Go was an obscure American politician.
That's the wonderful thing about a mysterious character, especially for us Americans who did not get Final Fantasy V, to know Go-Go's original origin in the series and that it was just a callback to that one-time boss.
Who, in that game, you beat that boss by literally doing nothing. And who do we have now? I mean, clearly we have another Moogle, but Cuckoo comes with Capture. Capture is fine.
Once again, not a great ability, but very, very good stats if ever we can find anything to use those stats with.
But also, Sabin opens up 5 checks. The checks within Worlds Collide are not evenly distributed among characters. When we were deciding which character would get which checks, we tried to select each character who is like most involved with a particular event within Final Fantasy VI, which is why like Realm opens up Bowser's Mansion, even though that's where you recruit Realm. We consider her the most important character in that scene, so she opens it. And with the way the story goes, you know, there are some characters in Final Fantasy VI who are just more important than other ones. Terra, Celes, Sabin, they're all just kind of more important than a lot of the other characters, so they have a lot more events associated with them. Wow, an 8,000 GP Zen Thief? Okay.
Earlier today it was 50k. I'm much happier to see the 8k. Now that isn't a check that would give me, for the most part, I'll be ignoring checks that won't give characters, that I know won't give characters, but that is very much not very far out of the way, and luckily today quite cheap, so...
So what I'm hearing is that we won't be spending a lot of time in the auction house.
Exactly. Thought I had two. He's got the other one. Okay. I'm wasting a little bit of time here, but... Oh, wait. That's actually what I want to do. Okay, fine.
So, like I said, each character is going to open up different checks. Sabin opens up a lot of very good ones. Some of them are longer than others and less desirable. But some of them, like Collapsing House here, is a very popular check because usually you can peek the check and then reset out of it if you don't like who's holding up the collapsing house. But since we've got moogles, and more moogles, we'll find out when we're done here. I also noticed, I think you have not taken advantage of one of the other Worlds Collide flags, which is the ability to turn off the timers.
Yep. Normally I don't care that much about the timers, but because of that, I discovered something interesting a few weeks ago. I was doing the floating continent, and the final boss was Doom, and he kept freezing the entire party. And so when time was just about to run out, the battle suddenly ended, and I was able to escape.
Yep, that battle will automatically end when you get to 5 seconds. And so if you can get to the airship within that 5 seconds, you can escape, even without defeating that boss.
Yep. The only bad news was I didn't get the experience magic points or sky render for defeating him, but I was grateful I didn't have to reload or any such thing. It was a fairly early floating continent, too, so I didn't have very much in the way of tools. So in the future, I might take advantage of that, but I prefer the regular time as opposed to random time, which is another flag you can do. That was a vanilla monster in a box PM stalkers.
Mm-hmm. I typically prefer to just turn off the timers entirely, just because I don't feel that they add all that much interest to the game from a racing perspective, which is a lot of what I end up doing and end up moderating is, for the racing community, because a racer's already going to go through there as quickly as possible. And someone who's not a racer, it's not going to do much for them. So this wasn't a character, but I'm really happy to see that, Esper.
As am I.
Why are you so happy to see Golem? We haven't even seen what spells it gives us.
So Golem, I had to buy some of these. Golem is is one of the espers that has a very, very good summon ability. He protects the party from physical attacks, and even though when he blocks after you summon him, you'll see hands pop up to block attacks at certain points. Damage numbers will still show, but you won't take any damage. So he's useful in certain circumstances, but what's really useful about him is for the final Kefka battle. The third tier of the final Kefka, the enemy uses an ability called Calmness on you after you defeat it, and Calmness is a physical attack that will instantly kill the character, which is very bad because if a character is dead between transitions, you don't even get a chance to revive them. They'll be replaced with the next character in your character list. And usually, especially in the Worlds Collide randomizer, you're not likely to have more than 4 strong characters. So that will leave you going into the final fight against Kefka, the ultimate final Kefka, with 3 good characters and 1 random backup. But Golem's ability blocks all physical attacks, including Calmness, even though it doesn't do any damage. So it's one of the 2 espers that is guaranteed to be able to stop Calmness from killing any of your party members, provided you use it at the right time in that fight.
Correct. And because Calmness is a physical attack, Memento Ring, which protects against fatal magics, will not protect you against that instant death, because it's not magic. Guess who's learned that the hard way more than once?
That's something I've never actually taken into consideration or learned because while they are useful in certain fights like Aloe Vera, I'd never been short enough. They're always relics I'd prefer over Prevent Instant Death just to try to deal with that.
Fair.
But yeah, I can definitely see how that could be a problem and something you might have to resort to if you didn't find any of those espers, if you didn't find Phantom even as a desperation backup or manage or anything else, and you wanted to be able to make sure that your party didn't die. Yeah, I could very well see you trying that. I have not yet been in that situation myself, and I'm glad to hear about it this way. What about Safety Bit though? Will it protect against that?
Absolutely not. Safety Bit is basically just a renamed memento ring.
Okay, good to know.
All right, now we have. What is your theory on the name of this boss?
I always thought this was a senior behemoth. Oh, and he absorbs ice, and I'm using an ice weapon. I keep forgetting to put on Tiger Fang, which I really should do, because Tiger Fang is the strongest weapon for Sabin/Cuckoo. At least, unless he randomly knows how to do other abilities.
I mean, you could just equip it right now.
Oh yeah, actually I can. That's right. You can equip weapons in battle. Been so long since I've worried about that. There we go. Now we'll do more damage. Okay.
That is unfortunate.
Well, let's get rid of its invisibility. Let's get rid of the confusion.
So the other names I have heard for this boss are Senor Behemoth, or my personal favorite, the Strontium Behemoth.
Okay, SR Strontium on the periodic table. Nice.
As if you didn't need to be told that, the Worlds Collide community is a bunch of nerds. Because it's a bunch of nerds. And I say this as one myself. So you might be noticing that our Strontium Behemoth here is not using the abilities that you would necessarily expect. What is going on right now is that the enemy's abilities are scaled to their level, but within the same element. So that Scar Beam is a Pearl element attack. So that is likely replaced just a cast of the spell Pearl, because just casting the spell Pearl right now would be very, very powerful compared to the party. So scaling by element sort of gives us a chance to, not be, insta-gibbed by just a spell that is too strong, even if it's being cast by, a level 6 enemy. Alright, we've got a nice recovery here. This Strontium Behemoth is giving us a bit of a run for our money.
Yep. I'm almost a little sad that we didn't already... Oh, I have Life 2 as a spell. I need to remember that the next time one of them goes down and it's his turn. I'd forgotten that I had that. I haven't needed it in quite a while.
And there we go. The Strontium Behemoth goes down, and the other Strontium Behemoth shows up. This does mean that this battle does give you 2 item drops, which is quite nice. You'll get a Behemoth suit and I believe a Thunder Blade.
Yep.
The second Behemoth also usually comes at you from behind and is undead, so in vanilla you can just hit it with a Revivify or a Phoenix Down if you so wish. But again, another one of the flags that we have is called the No Undead flag, which removes the undead status from the bosses so that they are no longer susceptible to being Phoenix Down. Otherwise, we could have done that to Haydn and the Haydn Knights earlier and just bypassed that battle entirely.
Are they actually undead? I did not realize that they were one of the undead bosses.
Haydn is an undead boss. I believe the Haydn Knights are as well, but I'm less confident on that because it's, again, one of those things that I've never actually cared about.
Yumaro. I have a tracker going. I don't have room to put it on the screen because of the Memeathon layout setup, but I'm using it to help me keep track of where I'm going. And normally when I'm streaming myself, I show it, but it is auto-tracking, so sometimes for situations like that, it'll tell me ahead of time what just happened. So I was able to see during this scene that it already lit up Yumaro as my next character to join. Or Kumaro, as he is as a Moogle. So these Moogles are... in the vanilla game, there are only about 16 slots for the characters to occupy because of limited data on SNES cartridges. And so the Moogles that you recruit at the beginning of the game briefly to help you defend Terra with Locke, right at the start, are later replaced by your regular characters. And this is mostly seen in sketch runs, because it's runs using the sketch glitch, because you usually will skip out on the second trip to South Figaro during Locke's scenario, and not recruit Silas by using a glitch to clip through the guard. And because of that, when Silas joins you at Narsh, when the parties reunite again, because Silas hasn't been initialized, it gives you her Moogle equivalent of Kutan. Most of the rest you won't see, though there are certain glitches that you can do to skip various parts in the game. But so all of the names that I've given to the Moogles here, with the exception of Terra, Locke, and Yumaro, are named after their Moogle equivalents. I came up with Kuna for Terra, because her original name was Tina, and I kept with the Ku theme. Kukik for... oh, experience. Very nice. Attack from behind by Gigantos? That's a bit dangerous. Locke is Kukik, which I just randomly came up with, and Yumaro became Kumaro, which just seems to fit to me.
So the Gigantos is the single highest XP per level enemy in the game. That is a very particular way of saying it, because in vanilla, a Gigantos will not give you the most XP of any individual enemy, but if you average it out of XP granted per enemy level, Gigantos is the highest. Which means Gigantos has the highest possible dealing of XP that Worlds Collide can give you.
That's a lot of XP. Also very dangerous physically. However, he has no magic attacks, so if you do it ahead of time or in the middle of battle out of desperation, you can cheese him out by making the entire party invisible.
Another interesting thing to note about the quirk of the scaling of Worlds Collide is it's adding levels and HP and MP to the enemies. And adding levels is very important for a lot of damage calculations. It's a very, very important aspect of how the game calculates how much damage you do and how much damage the enemy does. One of the secretly very, very difficult enemies as you get up to the higher levels of scaling in Worlds Collide is the Memeathon. From the very beginning of the game, when you're going through Narsh with Terra in the Magitech armor with Vix and Wedge. And that's because in vanilla, the Memeathon has a negative level, or is level 0, one or the other.
Wow. I just want to point out in this scene that this is one of the great situations where we have Moogle on Moogle action. Lots of Moogles fighting Moogles, I should say.
Oh dear.
There we are. Moogles everywhere. Moogles in Magitech armor is especially fun to see.
Yeah, There are not currently more moogles on screen than I have tattooed to my body.
That's interesting to know. That's right, these enemies have absolutely ridiculous magic defense.
Because once again, giant nerd. The entire Worlds Collide community is giant nerds. And I say this with all of the love in the world. Now, I presume you won't be doing any of the extras that can be done, like trigger the opera scene, not the ultras pushing the weight off the rafters, but the actual singing in the opera.
Yeah, I didn't set any of the quest line rewards because I couldn't think of any that were appropriate to the Moogle theming. Besides simply the collecting 14 Moogles is a big addition to the game, but I was trying to think if there are any quests that might be interesting to do, but besides collecting possibly specific Moogles, nothing came to mind. Since you can't do the rescue Terra with Moogles scenario, at least as far as I'm aware.
Not yet. I think it's in the works. Let's see, a Scullion. If I remember correctly, this is a fairly late game enemy and can be quite dangerous.
I believe so.
It's not quite as bad as, I think it's called the Io, which is the palette swap of this enemy, which is a Kefka's Tower enemy. But this is still a scary enemy. I do find it funny that occasionally there are some enemy abilities that are quite appropriately named. Gamma Ray gives you condemned. Gives you radiation poisoning. I'm very easily amused.
Yep. Okay, we survived all these fights. That's great. The good news is we're going to get a full heal before our next check, so... The Sabin's checks lend very nicely to a just little going in order of his of many of the events in his personal scenario in the game. So you'd come and do the Imperial camp, then just head a little bit south and you bump into the Phantom Forest, and then once you come out the other side, you just hop over to do the Barren Falls.
Yep, and very conveniently in Worlds Collide, the airship follows you around, so you don't have to worry about getting stuck somewhere without your airship.
The only check that leaves the airship in a semi-inconvenient place is doing Figaro Castle in the World of Ruin, because of the fact that it's buried in the desert and you have to enter via a cave some distance away. This is a unique check because you can pick up the reward before anything else happens. Also, there's an item in here that I sometimes forget about. But unlike most floor items, that is actually randomized. Most of the floor items in the game, there are a few hidden items on floors, most of which are mistranslated as well for some reason. And that also includes the 4 floating chests that you have to fight monsters for in Owzer's Mansion that I ignored. And those are not randomized because they don't count as regular chests.
Yeah, they are not coded as chests in the game. They are coded as events, which just means that they are not automatically included in that randomization. I'm sure there is a way to make it happen, but that is not a particular challenge that our developer, Atma, has taken on.
And lots of Moogles. It's a Moogle train. The train of Moogles. We don't like those Moogles, though, just like we didn't like that Landworm, which is a one of the more scary enemies in Kefka's Tower. I don't even remember quite all that it does, I just know that I've never had a good fight with it. Please get out of my way, fellow Moogle.
Kupo.
I'm going to go ahead and take a free heal after losing most of my hit points, since I don't have access to cures or any really good healing items.
So even though we're going to be going through most of the game here, we're going to be getting a lot of levels. Our characters are going to be quite powerful, but there are still a few things that we're going to want to do to prepare for the final Kefka battle, because if you're not ready, it can still rock your world. So when you're trying to prepare for the final Kefka fight, what are the things that you are in particular looking for?
I am looking for some way of blocking the calmness ability in tier 2. I'm looking for a mute in tier 3 and a doom for tier 1 and tier 2. Some sort of survivability and just basic ways of doing damage which fall into the different parts. But what I look for in particular is ways of breaking the damage cap if I can. By which I mean abilities that hit more than once a turn, which therefore allows you to do more than 10,000 damage with a single character. There are many different ways to do that, but some of the best ways is getting one of the 3 depletion ignoring, offering ignoring items combined with an offering, fixed dice, or valiant knife, or Atma weapon. Because those can very quickly deal out 16,000 plus damage to final Kefka. There are a few others as well. Sword Tech is actually really good for that with Quadra Slice. Gembox can do it with a powerful spell. A lot of people like Memeathon, so looking for Memeathon immunity, so elemental shields are all capable of blocking that. Something that gives you immunity to fire and wind, lets you spam Memeathon, the most powerful ability in the game with Ultima turned off, as it is in most seeds, including this one.
Yep, Merton is a fire and wind full battlefield targeting spell, so it will hit both you and the enemies, and if you are either immune or absorb either one of the elements, you will ignore or absorb all of the damage, which is why any of the elemental shields will work, because they will either give you immunity to fire or wind, or let you absorb fire or wind.
As well as something that might drop from the Pugs. The Pugs are the only monster in a box that is not guaranteed to drop an item, and we weren't lucky today. They can give you Minervas, however. Speaking of which, I did find a Minerva, and I forgot to check if anyone can use it. I haven't put on any of my armor in quite a little while, in fact. But I should be looking at that. The Behemoth suit can go on multiple people. The Minerva was the one I really wanted to look at, though. Kumog can actually equip the Minerva.
So, unlike helmets, in which there's really only 1 or 2 good helmets, there's actually quite a bit of good body armor. Minerva is one of them. It gives you immunity to most of the elements. It gives you quite a few stats. There is also Force Armor, which gives you magic evade, as well as having all elemental damage that's coming into you. Let's see. The other good body armor. Mirage Vest is actually very niche, useful. It gives you the image status, which refreshes every tier of the final Kefka fight, so it is possible calmness protection. So your choices for body armors tend to be better than your choices for helmets.
Yep. And most of the very best defensively helmets in the game, the ones that they want you to auto-equip, are things like Genji Helmet, which provide no meaningful benefit. There are a lot of people, including me, who think that the rather early game, Green Berets, which have a lot less defense but give 10 physical evade and the ability to give you 10% bonus HP, are actually of more valuable defense. He is immune to ice, so...
That is correct, but we are already seeing the benefits of Flare as a spell. Pumping out 4k damage a turn when we're in, our 20s right now, is quite quite useful, and these enemies are not going to stand very long up to taking multiple flares to the face. At the same time, you see Kumog, our go-go equivalent, his stats are just... they're not as good. He's trying real hard. And we appreciate that. But he cannot keep up with Kushu, also known as Realm, also known as the Murder Child. I do call Realm the Murder Child because in vanilla she is canonically, I believe, 10 years old. And she has the highest magic power in the game. Just straight up. Most powerful magic user.
She has a base... when you recruit her, she has 46 with an asterisk. She does have +1 from her brush and +1 from her armor, but that's only 2, so you take it down, it's 44. The next highest is Terra, who starts with a 39, and of course is your primary character starts with magic, so you think of her as the most powerful mage, and especially with Morph, she can be, but even though Realm comes rather late, it only takes a little bit of care to... I need to stop using Capture, because he doesn't have anything to steal anyway. But it only takes a few spells to teach her, and she will quickly be one of your highest damage dealing party members. In addition, she has access to a lot of magic improving and other stat boosting equipment, things like Behemoth suits, Moogle suits, Chocobo suits, Nutkin suits. There are a large number of very good stat boosting armors she can wear that just pump up her magic even higher, not to mention staves like the Magus Rod, or Magus Rod, or Magus Rod, or however you pronounce that one.
Yep, Realm is my second favorite Final Fantasy VI character. My first favorite is Mog, to the shock of 0 people who have interacted with me online. Fun story, you do get a free full heal before you jump off this waterfall. That was actually put in the vanilla game because before you jump off this waterfall, Shadow leaves your party. And the developers did not want you to encounter a situation where Shadow was your only living character and he then left your party. So they give you the full heal so that you will be entering into what is normally the piranha fight with, your characters alive. This was Ultros 2, typically found in the auction house. Opera House. I can talk. And one of the particular gimmicks with that fight is that he wanders, like he will move around the battlefield, and each one of those positions has a separate HP pool. So if you do enough damage quickly enough, you will defeat him very, very quickly. And you just got a free paladin shield.
Yep.
Okay.
I haven't had one in a couple of seeds, or even the ability. I got locked late in all of them, so I didn't see any paladin shield. Now they're like, it's paladin shield time. Alright, okay. I'm going to go ahead and take a quick detour to peek Yumaro's check, so I know if that's a character or not, since it's one of the few I can. And then after that, the only thing I'll have left is Kefket Narsh and the Phoenix Cave. I'd like to save Kefket Narsh for when I have Mog, because then I can do that check together. But if that's the only way to advance, at least now I won't have to worry about not having the full party. There's no character there, so Yumaro's check is not a character.
There we go. And we don't really have need of any espers or high tier items right now. There are definitely situations I could see where I would want to still go do it to, if I were searching for Fenrir or Golem. But without that, meh. Yeti, you're nice, you're a checkbox, but that's about it.
I actually have a certain irrational fondness for Yumaro, the big dumb berserker, but he is not very useful, and especially since we got him early and he's going to be low level, he is certainly going to be one of the 2 characters that I'm going to be leaving on the airship when it is time to take on Final Kefka.
In Umaro's defense, Umaro does have the highest base stats in the game, and it's not close.
Yep. He is actually, his one major use I've always felt in the vanilla game is he makes an excellent Colosseum fighter for you, because it's pretty easy to slap a couple relics on him to make him immune to quite a lot of attacks and abilities. I need to throw a Moogle Charm on him, however. And unlike your other characters who will be using Safe or Haste or, goodness forbid, Life in a solo battle against an enemy rather than doing their attacks, but Umaro, since he's a total berserker who you can't control anyway, all he's going to do is just attack, 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 and attack some more. There are other things you can do to cheese the Colosseum as well, but if you don't want to put a lot of thought into it, Umaro is extremely effective for that.
That he is.
I don't usually visit the Colosseum very much in the randomizer, though. I know there are some people who do, or situations where it can be useful, but I generally just ignore it.
Typically, it is... It depends on the settings that you have. If you have the Colosseum rewards visible, which is a quality of life feature we've implemented, where you can choose how many of the rewards are visible before you even select what you're going to bet. It is possible to, launder eye drops into Illuminas. But those instances are relatively few and far between.
Mostly I just always forget about the Colosseum. It's very out of the way, and in this Worlds Collide randomizer, it's not even necessary for a character. There's no shadow check that gives a character the Colosseum or anything, so it just never even comes to mind to look there. But probably on some of these slower start types of seeds, like this one that we have right here, it might not be a bad idea to look, but that's just something I never remember.
Interestingly enough, Shadow is not one of the characters who needs an extra check. Shadow has 5 checks associated with him.
Yep, 3 of them are on the floating continent, but yes, no character has more than 5 checks, so he is one of the... Are there 4 of them that have 5 checks? 5 of them. Terra, Sabin, Celis, Shadow, and Cyan.
Mm-hmm. And 3 of Cyan's are in his dream.
Yep. And 3 of Celis's are in the Magitech factory. I'll go ahead and save just in case. The dragons are very predictable, but I always fight them, but I'll just be safe in case something goes wrong.
I was just about to ask if you were going to be taking the dragon fights. A lot of XP, a lot of, each one gives a high tier treasure that they normally drop. They also tend to they will give you a high tier item reward after you beat them. They give 50 magic points. They are a really good steroid.
Yep. There are many people who like some early checks like Mount Zozo or even Phoenix Cave that theoretically has no enemies in it because the only boss is a very much optional dragon, but I pretty much always consider the dragons as imperative to defeat.
Did you know that in one of the very first releases of Worlds Collide, we're talking version 0.1, 0.2, before there was character gating, Phoenix Cave was the meta play to go visit first every single seed.
Really?
Yep. because at the very beginning, Phoenix Cave gave you a guaranteed character and a guaranteed Esper.
Oh, wow. Back before many of these checks were reduced to essentially one check per, even in places where you would theoretically get both in the vanilla game.
And that was the logic for it at the beginning, because, you know, with Phoenix Cave, you would get Locke and the Phoenix Esper. So, you know, we just took it and said, hey, we're just going to give 2, and then we ran a few community race seeds, and we're like, wait.
Did the Matchdeck Factory give 2 or more Espers in the middle section at the time before you spread it out to 3 just separate checks, or 6 at once?
No.
That was always reduced?
It did not.
Interesting to know. I came into the community relatively late. It's only been a year and a half, almost 2 years maybe, since I picked up Worlds Collide. Maybe even less than that. Another Atma weapon. Okay. Another Cursed Shield. Will that have the same number as the original?
Yep, it'll be 7.
Okay. That
you
might
cannot
be worth putting
unburst
on
the
then.
Cursed Shield on Go-Go.
Oh, that's right. That's Go-Go. Should be giving Ice 2 to somebody else anyway, though. Let's see. Now I'm in a... Okay, one of the other Paladin shields. Turn the Cursed Shield.
Oh, Lord Almighty, you're going to have 3 Paladin shields.
I'm going to have
At this
3
rate-
Paladin shields. That is going to feel so good.
At this rate, you're probably going to have 4. You'll
I
find
very well
another
might.
one.
All I need to do is find one more. Maybe I'll find them in a shop somewhere. I almost always check the shops in Vector when I go to the Magitech Factory just for kicks, and I might very well do that again, and I often find, for some reason, very high-level shields and weapons in there, like Illuminas and Paladin shields, rather often. Okay, we got a character. It was Mog. Excellent. I am very fine with that.
What ability does Mog have?
Actually, Mog will probably replace Go-Go at this point, especially not super great stats, but better than Go-Go's, and with Blitz, that is a very much worthwhile ability to have. Now, I ran into trouble with this on the seed I was doing earlier. What is the level that you can go and get Bum Rush?
Oh, you have to have... let me check which flags you got. So you have to know every other Blitz, which I forget if that's in the 40s or 50s.
I had every other Blitz, and it still would not trigger for me. Oh, that's right. Snow Muffler that comes equipped on Yumaro that we can take off. That is... Mog is invincible, by the way. Mog will take 0 damage from almost everything with this setup, except for defense piercing abilities. Oh, goodness.
Of which there are not that many. Hey, there's a Merton.
Yep. Raiden is Fire 3 and Ice 2. That's pretty crazy. Go Raiden. You finally learned Flare here, so... You've learned Flare already. You were learning Life 2, but you haven't finished yet. Oh, let's get you Life 2. You finally learned Ice 3, so you have a powerful spell now. Let's teach you Flare. Okay.
Oh, do you have to talk to the Guru's non-widow? No.
I think it's something I've run into before as well. It might be if the character comes too high level, the game doesn't recognize that you've learned all 7 or some such thing. That's my estimate, because the last time I couldn't learn it was the same kind of situation. A character came late, already had all 7 blitzes, and so no matter how many levels I gained or whatever I did, I tried talking to Duncan, and Duncan would not trigger.
My only other question would be, did you have Sabin?
And I did have Sabin in the party at the same time as well.
Ah, well then I got nothing for you.
Because Mog actually had Blitz in the last seed, but was one of the last characters to join. His stats were even higher than
wait,
this,
wait,
so I
wait.
thought he'd be a good extra tower
Don't
hitter,
you want to do
especially.
Lone Wolf at the
Oh
same
yeah,
time?
that's right. That's right. Yes, I was thinking I was going to do that. Forgot to go trigger that first. I do that on occasion, especially when I'm distracted. Yep. Thank you very much. Yes. I do have little lapses in remembering things, especially when I'm thinking about other stuff at the same time, like why I have not been able to learn my bum rush when I should.
Triton, by the sun, do you mean Vargas? Because if that's what you mean, no, Vargas has no bearing on learning Bum Rush.
Yeah, and I had done that check as well anyway, so.
Yeah, if you encounter that, please just report that bug and put the seed in the bug report channel, and our team of programming moogles will look at it, which is not me.
All right. I might have to do that sometime, probably tomorrow. Oh, I forgot Moogle Charm was on my other character, so oh well. Well, this is one of the 7 battles I need. What can I kill these guys with quickly?
A stiff breeze?
Probably. They've gained too many levels to be killed by one little bolt there, but that follow-up will do it. I also have an experience egg I need to throw on somebody that I've been forgetting about. Mog, who is playing a little bit behind. Earrings for his blitzes. And Moogle Charm. There. Okay.
Here we go. And now we're going to be able to do both the Lone Wolf check here and the Kefket Narsh check, which I think, now I'm not sure, but I think both of the rewards from those are going to be Moogles.
We can certainly hope so. They certainly can be.
Well, there's one Moogle.
Whether it will actually be a Moogle or a Moogle is just going to reward us, however, we do not know.
But isn't saving the Moogles a reward in and of itself?
It is indeed. But of course, we're going to have to fight Moogles to save Moogles. This is another great... Oh, I'm going to have to go get that immediately. Not that I need it, since I already have great shields. But I could use it as a damaging weapon as well. I rarely break shields, a lot less than I probably should, but this is definitely a seed to do it. Okay? Wow. Is he worth getting rid of somebody for? I don't know. His stats are low mostly because of the Paladin shield. He's probably going to have a lot of lures because I have one of the factors of this seed is having slightly increased lures, but I don't know anyone else in my party is really weak enough to want to replace. Certainly not Realm. Not really Savant either. We're starting to get magic now, so... I always come and do this second because you finish at the bottom of the map, so it's less of a trip to get out. One of the reasons, too, that I really like to do this ensemble and not just do... Because if you have to come back, it is a... there's no fast way out of here. Since it isn't a dungeon, on the World of Ruin side, you can use a warp stone to get out of Narsh at any time. But because Narsh is not a dungeon in the World of Balance side, they don't let you use warp or a warp stone to leave it. So we have to trek our way out. So if you don't do these both at the same time, if you have to come back again, that is a pretty huge time waste.
Yeah, I agree. I tend to like to bundle these into a into a single trip, if at all possible. And so we've got a couple of fights here. Then we will fight the Rider Moogle, and, well, if we hit it, and then we will fight the Moogle Kefka. I'm trying to... Thinking of the Moogle Kefka made me think of Kefka being an evil clown, which made me wonder what a Moogle trying to cosplay as the Joker would look like. That was
We're about to find out when we fight the boss.
It was a long train of thought, but I had to bring everyone there along with me.
Actually, well, yeah, because they can do that too.
Outsiders and Madams are possibly the worst encounter formation in the game. They are real rough. Because
now,
throw sucks.
Throw is one of those defense-piercing abilities that, and it's a good thing I saved before that. Okay, so... Oh yes, that's right. There is no actual dying here. Unfortunately, we are all at 1 HP. That is the drawback here. So what do I have? I have 6 elixirs.
And yeah, just sort
there is a chance of them not being outsiders and madams because each one has 2 separate... goodness. Each one has 2 separate, different groups it could be, but... Uh-oh.
Koopop is going to be just fine here.
Possibly. Let's see. Blowfish. Quasar. Unfortunately, that respawns one here, but golly, if I can walk properly.
Optional.
One thing I'd really like to find right now is a some sort of Esper with Cure 2 or Cure 3. Because my healing options are extremely low right now. Oh my.
Yes.
Good news. Well, I have Flare anyway, so... You still don't have any magic, though.
Yep. Another change that Worlds Collide has made is removed the Zinger ability from Rexol, so that you don't have to sit there smacking your own party or hope that you have X Zone to cheese through this fight. Again, neither one of those options felt fun, so we decided to just not.
Yep. The Rexol Vanilla is quite possibly the most annoying fight in the entire game. Need to make sure to, I'll probably kill him before too long, but I'm trying to make sure to do a little bit of weight tricking, as they call it. Because we're on weight command, timers such as the condemned timer on my Cursed Shield wearing Moogle will not go down while I am in a menu, since it pauses the game, but actions that are in progress will still progress. Mog doesn't have much at the moment, and Blitz is too random in this kind of setup, so I'll just use him for weight tricking.
Weight tricking is one of those advanced tactics that tends to come up in races of Worlds Collide or in speedruns of Final Fantasy VI Vanilla. It is not something that you need to know or understand to play Worlds Collide successfully. It is just a tactic that gets you more turns compared to the enemy, and that can make certain fights easier.
When all your characters look the same, it's sometimes difficult to remember how to assemble your party. You have to pay extra careful attention to everything it says. One of the actual worst things about this is that for some reason in the Esper menu, it doesn't tell you what character you're on. So that place especially is really difficult for me to menu. I'm trying to get through it because unless I remember exact values based on level or hit point, I really don't know which Moogle is in a row. Except for the one that I select at the very start. I know I've got them. Okay, so we have Shadow now, which gives us access to several more checks, including some checks we could use to finish off this Cursed Shield and get our third Paladin Shield.
Because clearly that is what we need more than anything right now.
But this is a free check. Just a Magicite Crusader. I have enough money. I'm going to buy a drill just in case I get a tool user. Don't really... I actually ought to buy a bunch more of those. I had to use up a lot. Still kind of looking for a dried meat, but might not be necessary if we don't get Gao until very late. Let's see. So, Mars check. So, I think floating continent is the way to go.
The floating continent is 3 checks all wrapped up into one.
And 2 possibilities for a character. I think if I know the logic right, you can only get one, but you can get one at the start of the continent or the end of the continent.
I think it's possible to get 2, but that is a nuance of the logic that might have changed while I wasn't paying attention to that particular aspect of the randomizer.
I think it's the only... Yeah, I'm not really sure, because I think it's the only one of the triples that even has a chance of getting more than one check assigned to a character. So it's definitely questionable. Let's see how Ice 2 does. I don't remember how Flans react to Ice 2. They might absorb? No. Okay, then we're fine.
You know, honestly, I've never tried Frozen Flan. I'm sure it would be good.
The flan or pudding or jelly enemies in other games are often elemental associated, and there was our last battle for the curse. So, flans being blue would be ice elemental if that was the case, but you don't run into flan very often in the game, so they're not one of the enemies that I know a lot about.
Oh, I'm just trying to make bad puns about fruits and flan. Which, once again, should shock exactly 0 people who have ever interacted with me.
Alright, Life and Haste 2 would be fine. Ice 3, let's get that on to somebody else. We're still learning Fire 3. Fire 2 from Crusader. And he's learned Memeathon, so actually I could use Memeathon with him now. What is Mog looking like? Oh, he's the one that... Oh, did he already learn Memeathon? Okay, Mog has Memeathon, and I think we have Memeathon immunity now. Oh yes, very much so. 3 Paladin Shields and an Ice Shield for kicks as well. I'm going to get Thunder Shield just so that Cuckoo will learn Bolt 2. Because we don't have access to any other Bolt spells. That's actually the most exciting thing about Thunder Shield at the moment. Because we have a decent amount of Ice and Fire abilities now on our Espers and our Ice Shield. But we don't have access to much else in the way of Bolt.
You know, I don't think you're going to be hurting. Between Flare and double Atma weapons, which are going to be pretty powerful starting about now because you're at the right level.
Yep, if I can track me down an offering, and especially a Genji glove, too, with 2 Atma weapons. I can turn Locke guaranteed into a destroyer of worlds. And possibly anyone else who could use Atma weapon, but I know that he can use it guaranteed.
Mm-hmm.
Well, here's a enemy. I always prefer to find bosses who are nicely vulnerable to my abilities I've got, rather than, except for that character, who hasn't learned enough ice yet. But everyone else having ice, this is a perfect boss to run into. Much better than, oh, I've got a lot of ice, oh yay, let's fight Doom and then Tritok. I believe we get a full heal after this battle, since a boss immediately follows a boss.
Yep.
So that's nice. I don't have to worry about our hit points having been brought low by those shimshams.
Yeah, that's just another example of that elemental scaling, because normally, I don't believe Flame Eater would use Shimsham.
That was from the vultures earlier that were mostly using
that's right,
that.
that's right. Ooh, my mind is... Sorry, I was up at 6 a.m. for work today, so I am doing the best I can right now.
Haha, oh my. It'd be nice to have that bolt already. Got it on one character. Otherwise, Flare is fine, though.
Frankly, Ice 3 might do more than Bolt 2. Just because of the higher power of the ice spell.
Is it that much higher than Flare? I thought Guardian had a pretty good...
Oh, I was referring to Bolt 2.
Oh, Bolt 2, but I don't have Ice 3. Although I do have Flare. Not on that character, I don't have Ice 3 yet. But yes, that is true. The level 3 is so much more powerful.
Guardian is actually one of the more creative bosses, I think, in Final Fantasy VI, because once it goes through a couple of turns, it'll start quote-unquote running programs and emulating other bosses. Typically, the only one I ever see is it emulate Ultros, which means at most it's going to throw a tentacle and maybe some ink and then die a horrible death. I also like that it's a boss. If you try to go back to Vector in the World of Balance, it will prevent you from doing so. It's an unbeatable boss at that point that kicks you out of the town, but then you get to fight it and beat it in Kefka's Tower later. It's sort of this nice moment of sweet revenge.
Giving you a good feeling of how powerful you've become. It doesn't actually matter because the scripted Guardian is much more powerful, but you don't see those stats on screen, so you definitely feel more powerful since you've done this. So no character for the first check. Tritok. Ice 3, Fire 2. Very quick Ice 3. Should have checked what... Actually, I ought to probably prioritize Memeathon as a spell for all the characters who don't have it yet. Fire 3, I guess. The growths on most of these spells are not great. Nice to have Doom now. That will help in tiers 1 and 2. I still do not have either a Siren or a Mute as far as I've seen. Okay, come on, Katana Soul. Hey!
Ask and ye shall receive.
I don't think I have Muddle, unfortunately. If you have Muddle, you can totally nerf Katana Soul.
If you are able to muddle Katana Soul, it will take care of itself. Otherwise, I think you might just have to melt it with Flares and Mertens, which, you know, is going to be such a trial. I understand,
yep.
But I think we'll make it through together.
Yeah. He's not that dangerous. It's just convenient to muddle him. He's not that dangerous to me, I should say, at this point, because one of the most dangerous things he does is he has a high magic power and does... oh, yes. Now I actually have a spell that can be reflected by that reflect ring. I think it's time to take it off. But since I have 3 paladin shields on, he can throw water edges and fire edges until the sun goes nova, and I'm not going to care. And with these paladin shields, we have enough defense that... Okay, that still is dangerous.
Yeah,
but he can only do
a knife thrown in your face is still dangerous.
But you can only do that to one character at a time, so... Life 2... If he survives this flare. Right now, Life 2 is my best healing spell. It's probably the best thing for me to do is let my characters die and then Life 2 them back. That's a very weird situation to be in. It's been a long time since I've been that lacking in healing. But there's my offering, so now... Let's turn Locke into a super killer. Magic.
Won't your... Burton just heal you with paladin shields?
That is true, yes. I can't use that out of combat, but all the paladin shield people will get healed by Memeathon, which is the nice thing. Okay, Atma weapon, paladin shield to make him almost invincible and keep his health up. He's going to be in very much sitting pretty. We'll leave that fine. Okay. Let's go ahead and do another gold hairpin. I have a pod bracelet too. I've got some pretty good collection of relics. Do I have 2 Moogle charms on? No. That's the EXP egg. How's the EXP looking?
Pretty good, I think.
Let's give Kushu some more experience now to catch up. Okay, you didn't learn anything because you died. How's everybody else doing now? You're full with Ice and Ice 3 finally. Slow 2 and... Okay, go ahead and learn those. Halfway to Memeathon. Quite a ways away from anything, and you just have Fractal. Alright. So now I'm not going to worry about any more monsters in a box. There's nothing that they can drop that will really be of interest to me.
We have gotten what we want, which is the ability to slice and dice and Julianne enemies with a single sword.
At this point, I could almost completely forego chests entirely if I wanted. I could very well choose to and probably not have a problem. But because it's part of my nature to want to try and collect things, I'm going to be looking at chests anyway. Who knows, I might find a 4th paladin shield. And then Memeathon would be my party heal. Guaranteed. Because as it stands, we don't have a 4th healing shield. So that's the smallest drawback. I still don't have a way to heal that 4th character.
It's a drawback, technically.
Yeah. It's not. I never said it was a huge drawback. Oh, what does Realm have? She's still using the Doom Darts, right? Magical Brush will give her a little bit more magic and such. Let's go with that. Speaking of which, is there any other equipment I found but ignored? I never did put a better... Yeah. I could still use a couple of good pieces of armor, too. I don't need anything, but it would always be nice to have more. One of the Moogle seeds I did, my last character was here on the floating continent in that first spot, so I was able to jump off at the, let's see. I was able to jump off at the middle segment there. It felt very, very good.
That is actually quite a common thing when people are racing seeds. You know, they will get halfway through the Magitech factory and then they'll jump out before the cart. You know, they'll you know, leave the floating continent early. You know, if they have what they need and they just, you know, don't want to spend the time finishing out the check. But when we're going for all 14 characters, probably just finish the checks.
I did not know that he absorbed wind. That's interesting to know. I know he has to absorb wind because he certainly doesn't absorb fire, since he's the ice, one of the stooges.
If he is left alone, he will just run away.
I have seen that happen before. But when I'm dealing 8,000 damage in just a couple seconds with Locke, he disappears very quickly on his without him running away.
Yeah, fair.
Just normal haste, so I don't really care that much about that. Okay, you are done with those. I think he has just about all the important spells he needs now. Give me speed plus 1 growth. Satyr. Berserk I don't really need. Doom would be good to learn on someone. Actually, did you learn? You haven't, although he's going to be using, so I don't care that much. How about everyone else? Who needs Murder? You still need it, so let's... These two have it, I think. Life is good for me too, for cheap, although Life 2 would be best. Who am I on? Now this is where I've lost track of who I'm on. Alright, Life 2, Life 2. Don't have Unicorn yet. Let's get Life 2, since that is my best healing spell other than Memeathon. My only out-of-combat healing spell is to fully heal with Life. Okay. And it's the villainous Moogle, who is now going to send us, kick us out of here.
It's so sad when a good Moogle goes bad.
Yep.
Did you turn off Vanish Doom?
I did. Gigantos as a set encounter. Okay, well, this is a big experience boost. His physical damage is so high.
It is. He is very, very scary and hits, I believe, 4 times a turn. Which, you know, can add up very, very quickly, even 2 characters with, you know, 2, 3, 4,000 HP. I would be very surprised if this boss took you 4 minutes and 50 seconds. Although it is a French vanilla Atma weapon, I don't know, Atma weapon was definitely a terrifying boss when I was a kid. I had a lot of trouble with it. But it doesn't seem to be scary now.
It certainly won't be once we apply the other Atma weapon directly to its face. Thank you. Now I can return him to full health. Since he's the one character who isn't getting healed by my Memeathons.
Mm-hmm.
And that scary damage that Kukik is doing, already breaking the damage cap, is only going to get scarier.
Yeah. I think the only thing that will that could possibly do more damage is a second Atma weapon with the Genji glove. Hey, look, it's a Moogle.
And it's a character Moogle, Silas. Alright, Kutan has joined us. Kutan has shock and a 40 speed. Why couldn't I have gotten her earlier?
Yeah, at this point, 40 shock is very, very good early, but at this point, it's just not that exciting, to be honest.
This definitely means that she will not be incompetent in battling the bosses in Kefka's Tower, but it's not really worth it to swap her out with those stats. She has very, very good speed for Silas, but her magic is actually below average, which is very bad for a shock user. She normally has a 36 magic, so being a 33 is rather disappointing. She does, however, open us to a number of checks, including some very easy ones, like this one right here.
Yep, just go down to her cell, see if anyone's there. I bet it'll be a Moogle.
I'm pretty certain it'll be a Moogle. It's just a matter of if the Moogle will come with us or not.
But regardless, the Moogle will be thankful for its savior.
Now, once again, for those who have joined late and don't know the seed, normally in Worlds Collide, you generally collect 5 to 8 characters and 7 to 12-ish espers, depending on your exact settings, in order to unlock Final Kefka so you can beat the game. However, in this Oops All Moogles seed, our focus is trying to collect all 14 of the party member Moogles. So it's nice to get espers when they give us good items or stat growths, although they're becoming less and less relevant now because we're doing quite well. But mostly what we're looking for is collecting more of those Moogles. We have 8 out of the 14 so far.
And there are only so many places they could be.
Silas's other 2 checks at this point are slightly annoying because they're going to involve a lot of battles, and at this point, even for me, we're at plenty of experience. I don't really care that much for the battles we have, but we don't have too many places left. The 3 checks that are open to us at the moment are Opera House here, the Magitech Factory, and the Cave on the Veldt, which is a relatively easy-ish check, but I'm still here in the World of Balance, and just one of the things that I personally do because of OCD-style things in my head is I like to, if I don't have anything else pressuring me in any way, just stick to one of the worlds while I'm in it, and then swap back when I have nothing else that I can do. So I'm just going to do Silas's checks here in the World of Balance, and then any others that pop up before transferring over to the World of Ruin. Unless I'm very close to finishing out and I'm trying to do the quickest checks possible. Oh, I almost got away from that one.
The rats, they get me every time. I just sort of accept it and just run into them and fight them.
These are actually, again, because of my nature of not liking, of preferring to get as much experience as I can, especially early. I like doing Silas's checks early, having her early so I can get all those battles in, but at this point when I'm feeling so strong, I'd rather avoid them if I possibly could, but it's pretty hard to avoid these random NPCs. It's all a matter of luck, really.
Yeah, there are ways in theory that you can manipulate it through some RNG manipulation or like opening your menu at certain points, but that is, again, another one of those strategies and tactics that I have personally never taken the time to figure out.
Yeah, me neither. Fire Rod drop is actually kind of nice. At this point, elemental shields and rods could serve as very valuable items for Kefka's Tower for characters who aren't in the main party and don't have powerful abilities to use.
You know, you got to give Mog a little credit here. The Moogle apparently cleans up nice to sing in the opera.
Yep. Okay.
Chardnook is actually another one of the bosses that we have a nice quality of life change for. Because there is the angel side and the demon side, and you can only defeat the boss if you defeat the demon. So one of the things that we have changed is we basically have a flag that says, be the demon more. So there's less time spent just sort of waiting around twiddling your thumbs for the boss to change forms.
Oh yeah, I can use Memeathon too. Yeah, I've actually had battles where I didn't have a lot of offensive power and it was late in the game, and so Chardnook had a lot of hit points. And it would transition back to Goddess several times, but several of those times it would actually literally transition. I'd have 3 attacks queued up and it would start transitioning and I'd be like, darn, I lost those abilities. And then he immediately transitioned back to the demon rather than before my attacks went off. And I was like, okay, well, thank goodness for that quality of life change.
All praise Atmatech, the other executive Google.
Yep, indeed. It's definitely nice to have those kinds of frustrating little bosses cleaned up so they don't just bog stuff down with unfun segments. And so now, a Moogle appears, and underneath the guise of the opera singer Maria, wait, it was actually a Moogle in disguise the entire time. Who would have guessed? And Magicite Stray.
That would have been good for the Katana Soul that we fought a little while ago.
Yeah, it would have. But only once.
Yeah, oh well.
I have actually acquired a significant amount of money. Okay, one of the things that I always do is do this because I like having this free heal available.
I'm also kind of surprised at this point that you haven't found a stray cat yet, or at least I haven't noticed that you found a stray cat in case you find a rage user.
I think I did find a rage user. I can't remember who it was, though. Or maybe I'm remembering the earlier seed today.
I do limit myself to playing 1 randomizer seed per day, because if I play 2 of the same one, they blur together in my head and I get real confused. Then again, sometimes I get real confused when someone talks to me, so take that for what you will.
Nothing really worth buying here. Too bad. I wanted to throw some money on another paladin shield.
Yep, and now we get to go through the Magitech factory. Unlike in vanilla, you are not going to get a whole bunch of espers here. Probably gonna get 1 or 2.
And hopefully a character at the very end. From what I've seen, Magitech Factory is generally on people's short list of least favorite checks. Especially the second half of it. You can luckily leave after getting the first 2 bosses and checks out of the way. But if you're pushed through for that final check, which unfortunately we'll have to anyway because that's the only place you can get a character here, you have to fight 2 bosses and a long series of random battles as well. And so in a race setting where time is very much of the essence, that is one of the last things you want to devote a lot of time to. Not to mention inefficient, considering that you're literally fighting 2 bosses for 1 check at that point.
Yeah, which is not the best use of time. However, there are other options that are relatively new to the randomizer that could incentivize that sort of thing. So you set it so that there is a single objective: collect all 14 characters, unlock Kefka's Tower. But the ability to customize your experience by the use of these objective system is almost limitless. I have seen people create entirely themed seeds around a specific character like Edgar or Sabin, where every one of their checks that you do, you get certain rewards for it. You start with that character, etc. And you can even make it so that if you do certain things, you get punished with negative stats or bad permanent status conditions.
Yep. This meme seed that I've created with Moogles is relatively simple and amusing in its own right, visually especially. Everybody can see there's lots of wonderful Moogles everywhere. There's Moogle confusion, battles of Moogles fighting against Moogles everywhere. The evil final boss is a Moogle. Too bad his combat sprite will not be, but maybe that's for the best so we don't actually inflict any harm upon Moogles. No Moogles will be harmed in the making of this game. But you can create your own memes very easily with a huge amount of options for doing those objectives. The thing that first inspired the Moogle was in fact a Seed of the Week that had a rather similar theme but based on Strago. Most of the characters were made to look like Strago. And the seed was called Go Stray Go, and so the Stray Esper was the other significantly interesting part of it. You got a special reward if you found Stray, as well as numerous special rewards for doing all of the Stray-themed things, as Ravlin was saying, character-based stuff. But I remembered all the Moogles involved in combat with Locke and decided that changing it to focus on that for the character would be an interesting change of pace. But you can change character sprites, set missions to all sorts of things, do all of the side quests as a objective, which would also be a wonderful theme. Have special objectives to reward you for doing all of the random side quest stuff, like singing in the opera that normally would not be done during the during a run because it offers no credible reward.
Yep. And now you are fighting one of my favorite bosses in the game, the Spicy Chicken.
Depending on the situation, he's also one of my favorite. Not if I encounter him early and have no good tools to deal with him, but he's definitely my favorite of the Triad, especially because he drops the best weapon in Aura Lance. I already have one for Mog, and I don't know that that another one can be used by anybody else in the group right now. But it's definitely better than the Excalibur and the Skyrender, the other two warring Triad super weapons that get dropped, quote-unquote. Realm can use it, though, so that's nice.
The Excalibur is just unfortunate. It wants so badly to be good, but it suffers from being Pearl Element, which so many late-game bosses and enemies just absorb or ignore entirely.
And its stat boosts are incredibly minor, especially compared to Ragnarok or Illumina.
Look, if you're comparing anything to an Illumina, you're, comparing a Ford Fiesta to, like, an Aston Martin or a McLaren. Like, you're just not going to be... You're not going to be happy about it, no matter how good that Ford Fiesta is.
This is very true, but the other drawback to it is that, it's a sword, so it's equipped on those characters that have access, but it's even worse than Aura Lance and Tiger Fangs and numerous other weapons of significant power that other characters can use. So it only gives 1 to magic power, which is incredibly low for an end-game weapon. The only things worse are weapons like the Skyrender, that none of Cyan's weapons give any stat boosts, so which is very unfortunate for him. But most of your endgame weapons give at least +3 magic. Including the Aura Lance's poor kid brother, the Pearl Lance. It at least gives +3 magic power to make your spells and magic abilities more effective.
Oh, Ceiling Cat brings up a very good point. You were fighting the Phantom
Train.
Train.
This is very true. It has been so long since I've had a Blitzer in combat against the Ghost Train, I'd kind of forgotten that was a thing. When did I last save? I'll do that fight over again to suplex the train if I saved after beating, let's see, 4 minutes ago? I'll do it. I'll reset and suplex the train for the memes. This is Memeathon. How could I possibly skip suplexing the train? But I wasn't even thinking because we were talking about other interesting stuff, like the quality of terrible weapons. Even if I have to do this fight again, it's not a big deal. I do. Oh well. So we get to see Spicy Chicken again, and we get to suplex the train.
Now, do you remember the button inputs to suplex the train?
Yes, X, Y, down, up.
I remember basically 4 of the suplexes, or the blitzes. I remember suplex, pummel, Orabolt, and bum rush. And yes, there are other ones, and I'm sure they're good at certain points, but meh.
This won't work, but I'm doing it to make sure to myself that I am prepared for it. Oh no, you're fighting. Because you have the incredible Atma weapon. Sadly, we cannot suplex this box. One interesting thing I learned because of the randomizer, which is one of the things that makes suplexing the train so awesome, is that while you can suplex the ghost train, you cannot suplex tunnel armor. You would think that tunnel armor would not have a flag to make it immune to suplex, be flying boom, because there's no way you'd have any ability that triggers that immunity at that time. But for some reason, it's coded to be the flying/heavy enemy that's immune to ground effects like the suplex.
Huh.
That made me very sad when I discovered that, because that seems like a perfectly valid meme-like thing too. Picking up the tunnel armor and suplexing it sounds wonderful. But alas, it cannot be done.
Alas and alack.
Okay, let's save again so we don't have to beat Poltergeist if something goes wrong and I fail to do it again. First we'll equip our Aura Lance so we don't forget that. Because Realm likes having more magical power, so she's an even more savage murder child. Okay, here it comes. Now that we're ready for it, we can suplex the train.
So, I just want to put this image in your brain here. There is a 10-year-old child who is very, very powerful with magic, who is now charging at you with a spear while casting a spell. Yeah, I think the name Murder Child has been earned.
Yes, indeed.
I just want to point that out.
Not as bad as my murder child in my last seed who had Ragnarok. Here it comes! Suplex!
Wow, that was actually a lot of damage.
Yes, it was. If it happens to come up again, we'll go ahead and suplex it again, but I think that Kukik's going to kill it with the Atma weapon. Even at half damage. There we go.
Run validated. I did actually, at one point, see a speed run of vanilla Final Fantasy VI where one of the incentives was to kill the Phantom Train by hitting it with only suplexes.
I think it took 7 or 8 of them.
It was between 6 to 8.
Because I saw that as well. Let's see. I have one more antidote left first. Okay.
And that's one of those moments of like, I appreciate the commitment to the bit.
Yep.
And now we are going to get on a minecart ride with some very... You know what? For being a Super Nintendo game, they tried with these graphics to make it look like a minecart ride.
I love the graphics in Final Fantasy VI. I think they're all brilliant, and I don't think the pixel remaster needed to do much. But this is definitely the worst looking part of the game, and definitely a part it's almost worth getting the, are these outsiders? No, they're just ninjas, okay. You can't run from ninjas either, so we're fine. But, it's almost worth getting the Pixel Remaster just for the improvement in, this segment right here. It looks so much better. Oh, goodness. This minecart is so ugly.
You know, but it does consistently amaze me how much we were able to do back in the day with such, like, small amounts of processing speed and memory, because an entire Final Fantasy VI ROM is like 3 or 4 megabytes. Like, it is a very small amount of data, so I'm always very impressed when I think about it, how much you know, the programmers and the developers were able to pull off with such a small amount of information.
This is quite true.
Which means that I forgive them, you know, when there are strange bugs like the sketch glitch that get through, or you know, things like that.
Wonder if we'll get an extra Minerva for this. Maybe I'll get lucky and get an extra Minerva. Of course, I don't know if anyone else in the party can use one.
I mean, you need that Minerva to coordinate with your Paladin shield. You simply cannot be seen out on the town with one and not the other.
Nope, no Minervas.
I weep for your misfortune.
Okay.
Oh, and here is the most terrifying boss in the game. I'm not sure what you're going to do.
At very, very high levels, if you haven't got a lot of defense, Leader's axe counter can actually be kind of scary in its damage, but his hit points never max out high, so if you can do damage and kill him, yeah, he's not intimidating. Bye-bye Moogle on Magitech armor.
And now we're going to go out here and we're going to be met by...
hopefully another Moogle?
Hey, it's a Moogle!
Terra Moogle, Kuna. Excellent. I should have checked what she was. Sort of excellent. She has a lot of checks open, some of which are not fun. Good thing we have Flare. That's all I'm going to say. Good thing we have Flare and Offering Atma Weapon.
Yeah, I think Offering Atma Weapon... You also have Berserk. You can just Berserk it.
Oh, that's true. I can Berserk as well. Interestingly, I discovered in the Pixel Remaster that enemies do not lose their status effects when you kill them. So if you do Berserk Magimaster, he will not counter with Ultima. One of the quality of life flags we have turned on is that regardless, he will not counter with Ultima here to us, thank goodness, because otherwise you're pretty much dead unless you happen to have the tools you need to deal with that.
Yeah, you know, in the vanilla game where, you know where Magimaster is and you can, you know, you'll get caught by it once if you're playing through blind, and then, you know, you'll find ways to deal with it. Like, that sort of gimmick is okay. But when you're playing with a randomizer and it could literally be, you know, the first boss that you find, or like gating your only progression, having something like an Ultima counter where you might not have access to the tools to deal with it is the main reason why we have the no Ultima flag on.
Yep, exactly, because that's a large reason for a lot of that, and why turning off timers is also actually a really good, useful flag to turn on as well, that I should look into doing more. Because, sure, you can deal with it. Ooh, quick on Seraphim, that's nice. But, on the other hand, if, you know, a boss like Doom that keeps freezing your party shows up in the middle of a timed fight location, it can ruin the entire seed, simply because, okay, mute is actually really important to have at least on one character. Okay, but let's go with that. Alright. So, yeah, that's what a lot of the quality of life things are for, and they're quite appreciated for that. So Terra opens up a lot of checks, some of which are really easy and quick and nice, and some of which are slightly more annoying. And once again, an Imperial base filled with moogles who we will mostly not be talking to, because if we try, they'll start a fight with us and kick us out even if we win.
Again, back in the days before we regularly randomized these fixed encounters, the Imperial base was a very common grinding spot because the soldiers were fairly easy and fairly consistent, and not terrible XP. So this was one of my preferred grinding spots, actually.
So there's a little setting I did, which when I started this, that I haven't bothered to change because I decided to do the same settings otherwise. But one of the little OCD things I have is I hate it when abilities are assigned to characters and then they can't use the upgrade relic for it. Like somebody has Steel, but they can't equip Thief Glove for Capture, which is one of my biggest pet peeves. So because of that, one of the wilder flag settings I did was to make it so every character can equip every relic. This created one relatively major significant change to the run in that... Nah, I'll just leave that. We don't really need Bolt 2 all that much with all the other spells we've got. So the Rage Ring that is normally only equipable by Umaro happens to be the only relic that gives elemental immunities. It causes you to be immune to thunder and to absorb fire. So that is my 4th fire absorption item now I can put on. And on Umaro, it also gives him a new ability that he can use to throw your party members at the enemy, which is another defense piercing ability, which is pretty cool. It's definitely the best relic to put on him. But just being able to put it on my characters for the defensive boost is... I did not foresee how strong that would be until it happened to be one of the first relics I had, and I threw it on just because, and realized that, oh, this is what enables Umaro to absorb fire.
I believe the Blizzard Orb will also nullify fire. Something to keep in mind for your future playthroughs as well.
I don't use that one as much because every time I put it on and think, okay, now he can cast Blizzard spells, I always run into the bosses who absorb ice, and then all of a sudden Umaro is helping the enemy more than hurting it, because for some reason his AI seems determined to use ice when the enemy absorbs ice.
But again, as a relic that gives some elemental defenses, can be very good on characters who are not Sasquatchy.
Yeah. If they can equip it, because again, in vanilla game, they would not be able to. But with these settings, yeah, that's something that I can have, so that's pretty nice. Dual Wing Edge. Nope, too bad. I'd rather have Tiger Fangs. Yeah, I kind of would rather have the Aura Lances anyway. Wing Edge is a pretty decent endgame weapon, normally only usable by Locke. Our current Locke is using Atma Weapon, of course, to inflict murderous amounts of damage, so we don't want to put the Wing Edge on him. It gives only +1 magic, but it gives a whopping +6 speed, so if you can equip it on a normally slow character like Strago or Cyan, it's very, very good.
Oh my god, it's a Moogle.
I feel like we've gone a long time without seeing Moogles.
I know. It's very sad.
Bismarck?
It's an appreciative Moogle, but I'm not sure we didn't want an appreciative Moogle. We wanted a Moogle friend.
Yep.
I suppose the real question is, are we gonna have to do Leet River?
Again, Leet River is one I like doing early when I'm still trying to grind for some experience to make me feel safe. But at this point, Leet River is probably the last check I want to do. Like, I said that I like to do all the World of Balance checks before going to do the World of Ruin checks. I will definitely go do World of Ruin checks before I do Leet River. At this stage of the game.
Concur.
It's sometimes very nice in these particular Moogle seeds if some of the characters with 5 checks are among the very last ones you find. Nope, that is not the way to Welk. Thank you. Again, distract myself.
Here to help.
This is the way to Welk. And Welk is, nope, not a character. Too bad. Oh my. Wary. I do not remember if she absorbs wind or not. We're about to find out.
I do not believe so.
I think it's Holy and Lightning are the only things she absorbs. Right. The only disadvantage to Atma Weapon offering strategies is you actually do not do bonus damage for hitting from behind. So I'm still only doing 16k instead of 32 I would do if I got a back attack. It is so dreadful.
It really is. It's very disappointing. Should probably just throw the Atma Weapon out.
No, all the other boxes in the game that are empty are just because it's random. Oh, there's a flame shield. There's another fire absorption with that Genji glove. So that item came because they our wonderful designers made it so that the items you do not choose in the decision-making process of the weaponsmith in the weapon shop and the
and Lone Wolf.
Yes, and the Lone Wolf check, you can come to Narsh at various points to get the one you left behind, as it were. So now I have Quick combined with that. Kieran has Meteor, which is kind of nice. Let's see. I think you're the only one who hasn't learned Memeathon, so let's just learn it for the heck of it. If I have to do Cult of Kefka Tower, having that will be nice.
I was going to say, you could always just land at Fanatic's Tower and see what it is.
It'll be a
Moogle.
Moogle. Yep. Oh, yay, Cure 3. There we go. Now I can actually do out-of-combat healing.
Overrated.
Doom is decent, then I can go mute. Yeah. Okay, probably Zozo, and then I'll be swapping back to World of Ruin. Most likely, the game is going to troll me in this marathon by having the last character be on Leet River.
Yeah. That is the downside of doing a 14-character seed, is just the way the logic works out. You know, there's going to be a character somewhere at the end of a chain. And that's just how it's going to be.
Yep, and you can't avoid every check that you dislike for whatever reason because you know that you have other options to get in places. Because in a normal vanilla type of play, more standard flags, your standard selection of objectives is really what we're saying. Your base 7-10 or whatever small variants you have of that. Since you only need 7 characters, you only need 10 espers. Once you have a lot of options open, you can you can pick and choose the ones that are really good. You're only kind of boxed in, usually in the beginning, and even then, only if you have characters with a limited number of checks. But now, by comparison, I have 9 characters and 14 espers. In almost any other seed, this would be plenty to beat the game with. But this is something... bordering 100%, nearly a full 100% seed with 14 characters required.
Yep, we will leave no Moogle behind.
Yep. Oh. Well, no Memeathon today. Looks like it's probably back to Flare. You still don't have Flare. You can use Ice 3, though. Ice 3 is perfectly good against Inferno.
Inferno, another boss that can get really, really scary with Normalize and Distort on, because those two arms are going to get massively buffed with that flag. And that's in addition to the fact that Inferno is just sort of generally a terrifying boss to begin with. Things like Delta Hit, which petrifies one of your characters, can really cause problems at almost all stages of the game.
Yep. Petrify is a pretty rare status ailment, but since it's, a character, yay, who did we get? Edgar. Alright, that gives us a free check. As well as, not the best checks, but two checks that aren't super terrible. Better than Leap River.
If that's going to be our measuring stick, hey, you know what? I'm just really happy we don't have Strago yet and haven't had to do Casa del Fuego.
Yeah, that's another one that I generally don't mind, but I'd prefer not to do at this point. Strago's checks in general are on the more annoying side.
Oh god, they're just awful.
Anything I need to buy, really, that these guys sell?
I would buy a few more Warp Stones. I think you're only down to 2 or 3.
I don't need that many more, though. I think I have one more Zozo, and that's about it. I guess I could buy 11 because I have money to throw away, literally. Maybe these, if I get the Casa del Fuego, maybe I'll just smoke bomb my way out. Otherwise, a lot of people selling tents, but not a lot of people selling potions or other potentially useful things, or even X potions. You can occasionally find X potions, elixirs, and mega elixirs in these shops too, and when you have as much money as we do, Cyan. Okay, now that opens up a great amount of checks. Cyan is a candidate for the worst overall character in the game, because his stats, especially in magic power and speed, which are your two most important stats by a country mile, are absolutely atrocious. However, he has arguably the best checks in the game.
And we've also fixed sword tech.
Yep. That doesn't help him a lot in the randomizer, because often somebody else will have sword tech, but yeah, in vanilla, sword tech is a pretty bad ability on top of his poor stats and everything else.
Yep. This is a very nice check because it's a very quick single battle.
And another character.
Hey, look, it's the Strago.
Oh, yep, it is Strago. Okay, we have a lot of checks open to us right now. We got kind of lucky getting 2 more in a row. Okay, big bad Moogle, we'll take you on, and you are Tritok. Okay. Tritok's immune to wind, so we have to use Flare.
How many characters do we need, and which ones are they?
We have 12 of 14 characters now.
Oh, finding those last 2.
Gogo and Setzer are the last, or Gao and Setzer are the last 2.
I mean, I would exhaust my free checks first, if we have any left.
Not entirely free.
I mean, Doma Castle's a free check.
Yep. This one is relatively free, especially when you're later in the game. If it's your first check, you might get unlucky, as I have in some seeds, and had Goddess as your first boss here in Doma Castle. A Moogle suit, very on point. Oh, well, yeah, sure. The other Doma Castle is a good check because there's only 2 bosses, but you get 3 rewards for it. And no required battles, unlike both Magitech Factory and the Floating Continent, besides those 2 boss fights. Also, Mount Zozo is a pretty good check because it's a short dungeon with an optional boss in a dragon. So if you really need to do it early and don't want to fight a dragon, you don't have to. Just free check, run up, grab a few chests on the way.
I'm being reminded of a community seed we did once where Mr. Entity very specifically designed the seed to reward people who didn't play like Jacquemus Wedge. So as an example, in those very out-of-the-way chests here in Doma Castle, which Jack never checks, was like an Illumina and a Minerva.
Nice.
You know, it was all of these very little touches to reward those people who don't play, 100% efficiency, speed, go, go, go all the time. And I just thought that was a very clever thing.
Yeah, that's one of the reasons I'm not a great racer at this game, because I generally do like to hit every single thing, unless I feel either super pressure to finish or I feel I'm in a great position. So all these chests I skipped earlier in the little corners. We'll go ahead and check the clock now. So one of the recent additions is the ability to randomize the clock here. I hate that option. It's a clever idea, but it's super terrible, and I'll never have it on unless there is some sort of super amazing reward for the clock. Like, if I'm desperate for an Illumina, and an Illumina is the reward, it's worth it, maybe. Ooh, Hero Ring, that almost makes it worth it even if it was randomized. That's one of the best relics in the game, but...
Did you get your Rust Rid?
What's that?
Did you get your Rust Rid?
Oh, I don't think I did. Now, unfortunately, I also decided against doing the other meme option from April Fools, the Y remove. Like, similar to the press B to jump that was in the free Enterprise earlier, Worlds Collide did an April Fool's Day new setting of Y remove, which allows you to remove NPCs with the Y button. And you can actually remove this door as well, so you can actually visit this in the world of Balance, and there's actually a lot of neat things you can do with it, but I kind of just don't like the setting because it goes against the spirit of character gating in a lot of ways. There are certain moments like Zozo where it's really useful when you're in those lines behind the thieves, but overall, I don't know, it just doesn't appeal to me. But I kind of wish I'd done it anyway just to show it off, because it is pretty amusing that you just, NPC in the way, just get rid of them.
I mean, it basically turns you into, a murderous rampage.
Yep.
Just stab anyone who's in my way. They move very quickly then.
I would definitely be rewarded by a out-of-the-way box location type seed. Because, yes, I will, until I am absolutely in nothing else mode, I will go after everything. Oh, yay, this gives a Magus Rod for my murder child. Plus 4 more magic. Actually, I should go ahead and move on. I can go back to that now. This is a game I play a lot worse when I'm chatting with someone, and I didn't realize it because I usually don't have anyone to chat with. I go into so much autopilot on everything and forget little things. And a Pearl Lance, much inferior to the Magus Rod as far as I'm concerned. Boom. 66 magic power.
And we've achieved that without an Esper that increases magic power, right?
I believe so, yes. It's going to give you mute. More people that have that. Okay, we're finally done there. Most of the characters have most of the good abilities now. Mog is the one who's lagging a little behind on some of these, I think. Oh, let's get some more Quick. Quick is a good spell. It's only the most expensive spell in the game.
I mean, it lets you break the game really easily.
Yep. There's a reason I taught that to Locke first. And the bird has a Magicite in its nest, but unfortunately not a Moogle caring for it here.
I mean, I'm never sad to see a pretty rock, but there are definitely things I would rather have.
The next thing I'm actually going to do is peak Mobliz, since it is the only other check I can peak. Fenrir, I already have Golem, so that's not super amazing, but good to have both. I can actually equip both in the final battle, and then whoever comes up first I can use, which makes it a little more convenient when I'm not trying to remember which Moogle I gave my Esper to. I have a 50% chance of finding one. Now I just have to find the right child, which I was having trouble with this earlier.
It is the girl who is, like, on the platform, but to the north.
Odin. Okay, we don't care about this then. Would have been too easy if it would have been, but at least that's a check eliminated.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, I think Doma Castle is calling for me next.
Yeah. I feel that. I also feel like Cave on the Veldt is going to be a good option. It's going to be one of the shorter ones you can do.
That is true. Especially since I can skip the monster in a box, it'll be pretty quick. Of course, the problem is that because it puts me in Thamasa, I'm just going to be channeling that into the Burning House, and then channeling that into Hidden Cave, because that's how I roll. Which is kind of souring my position to it, because we'll end up in Thamasa after finishing the Cave in the Belt.
Mm-hmm. Fair. And really, not doing Casa del Fuego, it sounds like the option for me. On the other hand, there's just as good a chance that, you know, Gower Setzer is there than anywhere else.
This is true.
We're looking for a wild child and a pretty boy. Interesting.
Whoops, I had Kukik do that too instead of attacking. Oh well. Kefka's going to run away quickly with all these Murtons in his face. He actually has surprisingly high magic resistance, it seems. Or maybe I just don't have as much magic power on those other characters as I thought I had. Kushu shows off what 60 magic does. Madwin. It is only the second of the 3 checks that can give you a character here. So here's another ghost train full of ghost Moogles. Well, not as full, but there will be several. Like that one. And the even more ghostly one chasing after it.
And all of the puzzles, I guess is what you would call these. You know, I've done these now so often and for so long that they don't really feel like puzzles at this point. But,
Yep.
when you go through this for the first time, these are some, legitimately decent little puzzles to do.
Particularly this one.
Yeah, which I appreciate from an RPG that hasn't had a big focus on puzzles. Like, they've got this option, this sort of side area in the game.
I didn't need to hit that one, but oh well. This one's just a memory puzzle.
There has been talk about randomizing that, but all that would do is make people look at it, which, meh.
It's kind of like the idea of the clock, the same thing. It's neat that you can randomize that now, but it basically means that you just won't get that chest now unless you're trying to 100% the game if you do randomize it. This is one of the more interesting segments in the game because after the 2 forced times you're in Magitech armor, it's the last time in the game you can actually fight battles in Magitech armor. And if you bring Terra, she has access to her full assortment of Magitech abilities. But unfortunately, it's a very short section, especially if you have Moogle Charm. And now it's over. There is a glitch in the vanilla game you can do to keep character sprites looking like they're in Magitech armor the rest of the game, which is really neat. They did that in some of the older FF6 speedruns at like GDQ. SGDQ 2014 in particular as a really wonderful FF6 100% run done by Ascension Poexel. With a fantastically done opera as well. But they did the glitch that gave everybody Magitech armor, so it was hilarious, all the people running around Magitech armor through all the endgame cutscenes. What a threatening boss. Is this 3 or 1? It is either 3 or 1.
So 1 would be the underwater one, the half-submerged one, so this has to be 3.
Nope, that was 1. Because, did you see the way he died? There are some maps where, for some reason, Ultros 1 shows up with the regular Ultros sprite. It was a character. Who did we get? Gao. Okay. Instead of the submerged one. I don't know why, but it's just in certain situations, Ultros 1 has the regular Ultros sprite. But I know that was Ultros 1 because of the way he died and because of the way he died so easily. It only took 4 hits even at this level. Ultros 3 is actually a little beefier.
To be fair, you are also a blender on wheels.
20,000 damage in a single turn. Yeah, Locke destroyed him pretty darn quick, but I think Ultros 3 at this point would have a little bit more HP than that. I could be wrong. Now we have Gao's checks, which are also kind of bad at this point. But all I have... 1 character in a haystack now is what I'm looking for. I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 checks open to me, 9 checks open to me that he could be in. Whew. Okay. Trying to decide the least bad out of these. We're gonna go here first. Do these 2 checks.
Yeah. I think that is most efficient. Again, I do think Cave on the Veld would be...
I'm probably going there next.
Quick, you don't have to go through the Strago checks after that. I also think checking just the Veld for Gao's check.
Now, this is one thing I'm not sure about. I don't remember reading it. Can you do the Velt check in the World of Ruin, or do you have to be in the World of Balance?
You can do it in either world. You just need to have 3 characters in your party. Hey, look,
okay.
It's a Moogle.
Imagine that. A Moogle leading the gang of thieves. I need to get some dried meat, though. I haven't found any dried meat. I haven't been super hard searching for it, but I have been looking on occasion, but haven't found the shops with it yet. So that's a little bit of a drawback. If I want to do that check, I'm going to have to search. So maybe I'll go ahead and do that. Start checking shops. Hopefully it won't take too long. Most of the time I get lucky and find it either in an early shop or in a chest right before I find Gao. But there are occasional seeds where I go hunting high and low everywhere before I find my dried meat.
How many shops do you have it in?
I think it's the regular default 4. I really wish there was an option to turn it up to a lot more than that. I think 5 is the maximum that you can set it to. That actually would be one of the most exciting things to find in a chest right now, would be dried meat. Since I'm so well equipped everywhere else. Speaking of which, I just got a decent helmet. I ought to go ahead and equip it on someone. Nope, not thornlit. Oh, do I have another red cap? I never even noticed. Sure. I also ought to go see if I can pick up Bum Rush. Or I actually probably already learned Bum Rush through levels by now. We're really high level. Oh yay, this fight. Not hard, just annoying.
Oh, while we're making sushi rolls, by filleting all of the fish. The actual timer for when Rizzo Pass will arrive is randomized. Probably you set it between, what, 10 and 30 seconds?
Whatever the default is, I don't think I touched it.
Yeah.
Default for your standard race flags.
And that is there so that, you know, just to encourage people to play the game instead of just sitting there, you know, waiting for the minute and doing nothing while the fish just sit there on screen and look at you and I guess, I don't know, slap you in the face with a fin or two. You know, as we were developing this, we were trying to encourage more interaction and actual play. And less sit there and do nothing.
Not that it's a whole lot of play, but I definitely see the logic in that. And it is nice, sometimes you get lucky and you only need to kill 1 or 2 groups, and the timer's done and you get the boss, so there is that too. Okay, Moogle, do you give us a reward or join our party? Nope, reward. Come on, statue meat. Nope, gold helmet. That actually looks appropriate for what we just looted.
Right?
We took the gold helmet off the statue of armor. As a note, in case anybody didn't know, we found a Moogle suit earlier. If you equip the Moogle suit, it actually will make you look like a Moogle in combat. Of course, that won't affect us in this run since we're already Moogles, but nice little interesting thing. Oh wait, I need to go and trigger this. And now I need to make sure that I stop as well, because one of the other wonderful little quality of life things they do is the first time you say, after using Figaro, to continue journey, it will send you back to the other continent instead of going all the way to Kohlingen. But if you accidentally are clicking too fast and say immediately go, then you lose that nice little quality of life advantage because it only happens once. I certainly am not saying that from any known experience. I am not getting the monsters in a box because I know they aren't going to benefit me in any real way. Come on, dried meat. This is where you would find Vanilla Katana Soul, as well as Vanilla Master Pug, who drops the cool but unfortunately rather disadvantaged Graius knife, one of the most powerful weapons usable by almost everybody in the party, but it is Pearl Elemental, which, as Ravlin said before about the Excalibur, there are a lot of endgame bosses that are relatively immune to Holy, so you can be attacking and helping the enemy instead of hurting them. And it gives no other real benefits except for some evasion. Rainbow Brush, if I didn't already have Magus Rod, I'd be excited. Although it's actually not better than Aura Lance anyway, so I wouldn't be.
You know, one of the nice things
It's
about
double empty. That feels so bad.
these checks, I usually like to do all of Edgar's checks rolled up into one, if at all possible, um, just for the sort of density of treasures and things to do all at once. You know, I'm not 100% sure if it's the most efficient way to do it, but rolling them all up into one just kind of feels good.
Yep. There's definitely no reason to... unless you get the last item you need from the first check, you really do not... There's no reason to skip out on the Ancient Castle after doing Underground Figaro Castle. You know, the only reason is, oh, I just got the last check I needed, now I can go kill Kefka. Because if you have to come back for any reason... Ooh, and this is our last character. We chose correctly in that midst of stuff. And at the very end, I get more money from a cat hood.
There we go. Getting all 14 characters sub 3 hours is like a really good time.
Yep.
Because you do just sort of end up with that, well, I've got 9 choices, I've just got to throw a dart and pray.
I'm glad I was not baited out by the relatively tame Cave on the Veldt.
Yeah, you were absolutely right to not listen to me. Which is not something I freely admit often, so relish that.
I appreciate it, I will. I can't believe that I got those, that was like 4 characters and 6 or 7 checks, I think, right at the end there, which is really incredible. It's not like we were in a chain of final characters where it was Yumaro into Gogo, into Mog, into Realm, so you only have a few checks. We ended up getting Cyan, Terra, Strago, Edgar right near the end, and those guys all have 3 checks or more. And out of the collection, they did pretty well. Okay, time to go murder a evil Moogle. And this is, as I kind of mentioned earlier, I think this is the one time in the game where the airship does not automatically move to a convenient spot near you. So we have to go back and remember where we parked.
Yeah, and there are some technical dev limitations on why that is. And I forget what they are off the top of my head.
I imagine it's because they cannot be placed in a spot on screen adjacent to where you exit. And I mean, it's not even on screen, and so that might have something to do with it. So, okay, how do I want to divide up my party? Murder Child would be fine there, against one boss all by yourself. Let's have Mog and 7. How's Edgar? Edgar has Morph. Horrible stats and nothing to really use with the Morph, but I have some rods and shields I can break. So that's actually not bad. Silas is actually decent. Strago is pretty useless. Setzer has Rage. Maybe he has some good rages. I have a decent collection of starting rages. Kara has Natural Magic and Tools, so I like her in that party. Gao has Magitech and Control and Natural Magic. Okay, Gao is actually a solid character. Put Cyan there. Cyan has Throw. I can throw some weapons and stuff, so okay, I like how this party is. So, sadly, Shadow was too low level when he joined, although his stats are pretty good. And he has Lore, which is decent. He'd still almost be better than... Maybe he'd be better than Gogo, actually. I'll put him over Gogo. Because he has Quasar, so he can do some damage with that.
Quasar is one of the lores that is disappointing based on the fact that you have to get it from one of the final bosses in the game, and if you've gotten Grand Train, it's just worse.
Yep. But, since it's the best one I have, it's a decent spell for our purposes.
Oh, certainly. Like, it is very good on its own. It's just one of those, generally by the time you get it, it's just not as
Yeah,
good as the other options.
Yeah, in vanilla it's very disappointing, just like the Excalibur sword. By the time you get it, the very last item you're getting in the game, you should have much better. Yeah, that's actually fine. Did I still not find a better armor for him than a mithril vest? That's so incredible. Okay, let's take this off of you and give you something else, like... Okay, hero ring, sure. More magic power. Give you a Moogle charm. And since I have pretty much all the skills I want, I'm just going to go ahead and assign the ones, or at least have Fenrir and Golem on a couple of my characters so I don't have to worry about any final equipment. And because we have so much time, I'll be doing a full clear, in as much as where I remember all the items are, of Kefka's Tower.
And fighting the extra boss here, which happens to be Umaro, who is just not scary. Like, look, man, you're a Sasquatch. I'm not worried about you.
I forgot to go look for Bum Rush, to see if I could get that. That's a bit unfortunate. So I'll just guess I'll have to use magic. Which Mog still actually needs to learn Fire 3. There we go.
Yeah, none of the bosses that you meet here are going to be long for the world. Have you fought every statue boss? The only one that I'm not sure about is Doom.
I don't think we fought Doom, but we have fought Poltergeist twice. We beat him twice. Oh, Valiant Knife. Oh my. If I wasn't so high level, that would be even better than the Atma Weapon. But at this point, Atma Weapon will do a lot more than the Valiant Knife unless I reduce my health to near critical.
Mm-hmm.
It's actually fun sometimes to dual wield Atma Weapon and Valiant Knife, because they still both ignore defense and do not suffer from the offering reduction. So even though Valiant Knife won't do a whole lot of damage at high level, it'll still do more than most any other melee weapon. And if you start to lose health, then the Atma Weapon will lose all its strength if you're like hit with Fallen One right before the attack, but then the Valiant Knife will gain a lot of damage, so it kind of balances out nicely. The only problem with doing Genji Glove offering combos is that you can't use Paladin Shields or other shields to absorb enemy elements. Okay, how unlucky are we gonna get? Not a problem.
Yeah. Again, I'm struggling to think of a boss that would actually be a problem at this point.
It would have just been annoying if we'd been frozen. So I was waiting on that, but totally missed us. A second offering. I could give Valiant Knife to Locke and then give Atma Weapon to somebody else if they could use it. Nope, gotta remain there. Where are my Moogle charms? There it is. Oops. Really quick, let me check that. Because 2 offering attacks would make the last battle go even quicker. Yeah, I'm looking for Atma Weapon. Atma Weapon. I have 2 Atma Weapons anyway. Holy cow. Almost everybody can use it. Who in my party can, though? Kutan, Kumaro, Kupan, Kumag. None of those are the ones that are in my final party, unfortunately. So, nope. Can't give out 2 offerings for super damage. That's too bad. I did equip everybody else, right? Let's go to Golem. Another Mega Elixir, okay. It's nice. It's always good to have at least one Mega Elixir because it's an instant counter to Fallen 1 in Final Kefka stage. Especially if you're a little bit concerned with being too weak, you can just wait out his initial Fallen 1 attack, immediately have a character use Mega Elixir, and then you're good to go. You can unleash your other 3 characters a full round with them before Kefka will get another turn.
Tentacles, oh god, Tentacles is one of those battles where if you hit it level 3, it can be nearly impossible if you don't have running shoes, because the way the drain is coded when like the tentacles grab you is a static amount of HP, which is like, you know, between 50 and 75 or something, and that when you are level 3 will just end you.
Yep. They're one of the bosses that, because of the weird coding of the Pixel Remaster, were absolutely terrifying as well. Especially if you play on faster battle speed, because the ticks of everything that did tick damage, sap, poison, regen as well, actually, and the drain effects of those tentacles would tick at like 10 times the speed of what you'd expect. So a character would go 500 hit points to 0 in about 5 seconds when a tentacle grabbed you.
Oh, no thank you. I still haven't played the Pixel Remaster. I need to.
Interestingly, though, there's a little glitch where their time that they will spend... why didn't I just attack with him? I forgot which character I had. The time that they will spend attacking or holding your character will continue even during wait time when you're in menus. So if you're on wait, you can literally just open somebody's menu as long as all the characters weren't grabbed and just wait for them to discard your character, and they won't take any damage because the game is technically paused.
Huh.
It's a very weird error, but I think it's in perfectly good spirits considering how badly coded the drain effect is. The other option, of course, is to turn the game speed down, and then you won't get nearly as many drains either. It's really funny how certain little things work in the coding of the Pixel Remaster. Genji helmet. In my opinion, the worst possible high-tier item you can get.
Yep. Although, Heal Rod used to be a choice there as well.
Okay, that's pretty bad. Oh, where's my Moogle? Last Moogle. There it is.
Let's see, at the rate we're going, I fully expect Kefka to be dead within 15 minutes from this moment.
Alright, we'll see.
I expect the entire final Kefka stage to take 7 to 8 minutes with the damage output you've got going on.
That is one of the nice things about these very high requirement seeds. By the time you get to final Kefka, you're so buff that it is not much of a problem. In your normal seeds, of course, you're trying to acquire just enough ability to be able to survive those fights and do enough damage to kill him before you get overwhelmed. But it's almost anticlimactic at this point, but at least that means it's pretty stress-free. There are still some things that can mess us up, so... Although with 3 Paladin shields and the Rage Ring as a supplement, I could quite conceivably just auto my way to victory doing nothing but spamming Memeathon and lock attacks, and probably be fine.
Tier 3 might get a little sketch, but other than that...
Yeah, that has the potential to kill me if I don't get lucky with blocks. But all the usual stuff I do with muting and doom, I could probably just skip if I wanted and just blow up the first 2 tiers.
I definitely find, at least for tier 1, it's still useful doing if you're using an offering strat, because you can't focus the offering strat to take care of that long arm. And so here is Ultros 1.
So that must have been Ultros 3 before, but for some reason he had the Ultros 1 death animation. Because usually when Ultros 3 dies, he explodes rather than splooshing into the water like that. That is very strange.
I think it depends on if you defeat Ultros 3 with damage or with sketch.
Usually with damage he just dies. And I didn't defeat him with sketch, so... Sketch he usually runs away, yes, but... Very, very odd. I wonder if his death animation might be determined by the terrain.
Entirely possible.
Of course, I can also put on Genji Glove, dual wield those Atma weapons, and be relatively careful. Because at that point, Locke wouldn't have any real defensive immunity. But his damage output is going to be about 40,000 damage a turn.
Yeah, I think it's worth it.
Not Genji helmet. Red Cap would be better still, just for the bonus HP. More HP doesn't make it do more damage, but it does mean that when you're missing HP, you're at less of a... your percentage loss is less, so you get less reduced damage if you're injured. I'm going to put the Golem on somebody else. Like Realm. Realm is fun. Oh, I haven't equipped this party yet. Wait, where did I get another? Oh, that's the Paladin shield that's normally on that... Totally forgot about that now.
I just got all of these Paladin shields. What am I going to do with them?
Yep.
Okay. Insert the Zac Efron from High School Musical meme picture of holding too many things.
Ifrit? Okay. Not Exploder.
Interestingly enough, Flare Star is a spell that has a very unique damage formula that can end up doing way more damage than almost any other spell that's single target for reasons that are not entirely clear to me because I don't get that deep into the math. I just know that it has a weird damage formula.
Whoops.
I'm pretty sure we want Realm to be wearing clothing for the final battle.
Yes,
Although
definitely.
her power is high enough that she'd probably still do a lot of work.
Yeah, she would certainly do a lot of damage still. Okay, real quick. I ought to make sure to empty out these people. Mostly so I have these shields on hand to use if I really want to. Although I doubt I'll need to. Maybe I'll need to in this last upcoming fight if it's something super bad, like, okay, who does not... Cuckoo, okay, you're the one who needs Paladin Shield. Then I'll have 3 Paladin Shields and an Absolute Murderer. Okay, good. Who is the final foe standing between us and Moogle Kefka? Number 024.
The little brother of Magimaster, who's just not scary.
Nope. If you're unprepared for him in vanilla and you're under-leveled, he can be a little bit bad, because he will start doing the same Magimaster trick of gaining different elemental immunities at random if you let him be. But if you either put him to sleep or just have a lot of damage to kill him quickly, he's not much of a worry.
Yeah, the vulnerability to sleep is the big thing that's not immediately obvious to like new players, because I feel like most status ailments in this game are criminally underutilized.
It's a case of Final Fantasy in general, the way Square has often done their game design. They've had these same status ailments throughout their Final Fantasy series, even adding some of them to some of the Kingdom Hearts games in a similar way, and there are always a handful of random bosses in almost every game that are vulnerable to one of these status ailments, but unless you are literally, you have a guide telling you exactly what they are, or you're literally trying every status ailment in every battle, it's really hard to find just what those are. You know, like, Katana Soul is weak to muddle, but not to, stop or sleep, and 024 can be slept, and Magimaster can be berserk. But you have to try all of those every time, or again, have somebody just who knows who can tell you about it. Who are my big ones? Sabin, Realm, and Mog. Okay. Okay, who picked up Doom? You did, which is good. Let's see if that works. Excellent. Now let's toss some fires at the top head. Get rid of it first. I think 3 fire 3s should do it.
So with this final battle, the long arm is vulnerable to instant death, and Doom, the face, is vulnerable to fire, and then the short arm is just vulnerable to being hit.
Okay, it didn't quite die, but that should finish it.
Typically you want to defeat them in roughly that order. because if you defeat them outside of that order, you will get some nasty counterattacks, including Quake, which will do a surprisingly large amount of damage.
If I had found one more Paladin shield, I could have had everyone on that. They would have all been immune to Earth, and it would have been a moot point. Or I could have given Gaia Gear to Locke if I'd found that and done the same thing. Earth is a really hard element to get immunity to. I don't know if there are any besides Paladin Shield and Gaia Gear.
I think that is it.
Yeah, because a lot of those other elements, fire, there's lots of things that make you immune to fire, decent amount of things that make you immune to ice or thunder, and even several that make you immune to wind as well. But Earth is really, really small. Same with Holy Element, too, another one that we absorb with that. Okay, let's see. Now here we want Instant Death. We also want Mute. Mog has none of those. We'll wait on you.
So, surprisingly, the final enemy here that is named Magic
you have none of them as well.
Is weak to Mute, which entirely neuters that enemy.
Because all it can do is cast spells. And it will keep trying, even though it's muted, and you can't.
Mm-hmm. And if you can then Doom or otherwise Instant Death tools, which is sort of that machinery behind the blue guy, you are going to, between those two actions, take out 70% of the danger of this particular tier.
I only got Mute on 2 of my characters. This is going to top people up while we're waiting for this stupid Doom to land.
I would also note that Tiger on the bottom is weak to ice.
That I never remembered. No Cure 3 on her, so...
There we go.
Finally.
Doom has hit.
His damage is going to be slightly reduced because he's taken some damage, but... So he's only doing 40,000 with these 8 swings.
Yeah, that was just disappointing. If you are high enough level with high enough vigor and offering Atma Weapon, Genji Glove, it is possible to one-shot Final Kefka. It is usually easier to do that if you do the Valiant Knife strategy and then attack after he fallen wants you.
Yep.
Oof. Of course, the quarter hits the one who has the Atma Weapon.
Yep. Not a super big worry. I have elixirs. Now, hopefully he just doesn't get hit by enough 10 hits to kill him. The other ones are nearly immune with their good armor and paladin shields, but this is a real danger of losing Locke at that point. Okay, good. He survived. Now we can elixir him up immediately. Just throw that on. Double flare.
There's a pretty good chance that he's going to go down to the opening Merton here.
If it is an opening Merton, it could also be an opening Whirlwind. W-Wind.
Whirlwind. I always thought it was West Wind to go along with North and South Cross.
That's very true. It could very well be.
But then there's nothing for East, which makes an incomplete set.
Let's go ahead and see what happens. Nothing? Okay. I guess I'll just get off that elixir then. Magic. Flare. Flare. And then not immediately attack because I need to set up Golem or Fenrir first. You have it? Yes, you have Fenrir. Good. Oh, is his hit points that low?
I believe she is 9999.
Exactly? Oh. Okay. So it usually takes 2 hits of 5 to 6,000, but if you manage to hit the damage cap like our Murder Child does, it'll be 1 hit. Oh, and now comes in the W wind. Wonderful. Well, it missed the one with the Atma weapon, so that's all we care about. Goodbye 3rd tier, and then final Kefka.
This is about as textbook a Kefka fight as you can get. Truly, everything here has gone to plan.
Almost got scary with 10 hits, but that was it. And again, that's because I went for maximum offense. If I'd kept Paladin shields and just the Aegis shield on Kushu, who has other immunities, we would have been 100% safe against pretty much everything. So I'm just going to end the game right here.
Quick is one of those spells that behaves, it gives you 2 turns immediately, sort of ignoring all other ATB considerations. There are ways that it can get bugged and go just very strangely, but here just quick into double 8 attacks. Kefka will be dead. We're going to see this flash crack doom in right there. 324.35 for a 14 character seed is very well done.
Especially considering I also took maximum time in Kefka's tower rather than rushing it. I did all chests and all bosses rather than just the straight and quick path.
Absolutely. So GG, well played, and I do want to take this moment to thank the Memeathon for bringing us in and letting us show off our Oops All Moogles seed and Worlds Collide in general. So, you know, good run, and, you know, thanks for letting me hang out with you.
Yeah. I want to thank you for letting me be the anchor, the closing act of the marathon, and show this off. It has been a lot of fun. I'm not one of the most prominent racers in the WC community, but I have shown this off in a couple of smaller marathons, and it's always fun to do. It's just an enjoyable time, and there's so much neat stuff you can do with Worlds Collide. And since we do have some time, we get to see the Morph Moogle sprite real quick here. A real demon Moogle there that I set up. I never got to use the Morph ability in-game to show it off, but I gave a particular palette to the Morph Moogle sprite. But I guess since we have some time, can we go ahead and watch this Moogle-centric ending too?
That is far more of a question for the tournament organizer than for me, but I am actually going to take my leave tonight. I am going to thank you so much. I did get up very early for work this morning, and I am going to tap out and head off to bed. So once again, thank you for letting me, you know, be here with you and, you know, and share this moment. And, you know, good run, good marathon, and have a good one.
Yep, and thank you very much for showing up to help me commentate this. It was a little more distraction than I thought it would be for my mindset, but it was also very nice having somebody else who knows a lot about this game who can help keep my throat, you know, survive by having a lot of that stuff to talk about. I very much appreciate you coming and joining on relatively short notice for that. So thanks a lot, Ravlin, and Again, thank you for allowing the ending here with lots and lots of moogles in it too.
All right, thank you again. Have a good night.
Yep, you too. Good night. Okay, so famously very long ending here for Final Fantasy VI. What a lot of people, including me, didn't know as a kid is that there are actually a few variations to some of these scenes based on who you recruited. And now, of course, that's a lot better known. There are videos out there showing off some of them, and like especially in speedruns and any percent speedruns, several of the scenes will change. But in particular, this one with Edgar and Sabin is different if you didn't recruit Sabin, which may sound weird to anyone who just played the game casually, because Sabin's the first character you encounter in the world of Ruin when you start gathering the party. But you can actually skip him as well. You don't have to go into Zen and recruit him. You can totally ignore him, which sometimes it's beneficial to do if you know what you're doing, and because he can join later at a higher level and you can do the very annoying timed collapsing building with Moogle Charm, so that you don't have to worry about any encounters. Of course, if you don't find Locke, the Sealess scene is a little bit different because she has that in common. And slightly more obscure, if you collect Realm but not Strago, the Strago scene, the Realm one is different, because Strago features in Realm's scene as well as in his own. So you naturally don't see any characters you don't collect who aren't completely bundled, who have their own scenes, will have, instead of a usual scene, a panorama with their face portrait in the corner. But Realm also happens to have a unique scene that's different if you never got Strago after recruiting her. That shows off a bit, again, how unbalanced she is. Strong Moogle, open the door. So Umaro does actually have a Moogle equivalent in the data, but it's the second Mog. It's the Mog you use to select character choices. So I gave him the name of Kumaro rather than giving him his quote-unquote original Moogle name, because then I'd have two Mogs, and that's just kind of silly. It was otherwise really nice that each of these have a different name, which look a little worse in English than in Japanese, because all the names in Japanese start with Mo, just like Mogu, Mog, instead of with Ku, which I guess Woolsey chose because of them saying Kupo. So as it turns out, in a party with all the rest of the Moogles, Mog's name looks somewhat out of place. Kuru find shortcut. Yep. I guess the whole point for Gogo is to always be lost in some sort of dark hole deep underground. That's where you find and leave him in Final Fantasy V. That's where you find him in Final Fantasy VI and then leave him in a different one. I'm not sure if he appears in any other Final Fantasy games. The name of Kukik that I made for Locke is actually a little bit of a mistake. Because I think I was trying for Kubrick, like Stanley Kubrick, but at the same time I was thinking of a Eastern name like Tony Kukoc, Eastern European name, and I kind of combined the two. And I wanted that CK sound because of Locke. It would be Laku or Roku in Japanese. Probably should have just called him Koku. That would have been closest to his name, similar to how I did with Kuna, combining the Ku with Tina, her Japanese name. Kuna sounded a lot better than Kura. As is, he has the weirdest Moogle name, but whatever. Locke is actually my favorite character in Final Fantasy VI, followed closely by Celis and then Terra. Realm is probably fourth, based on, even if she's a crazy murder child, unbelievable cuteness, plus the fact that as a crazy murder child, she's just such a great character. Stat-wise, ability-wise in the party. So in most games, I will find some excuse to try and make those four my final party. Locke, Celis, Terra, and Realm. Little less of concern in Moogle Randomizer, because all the Moogles are their own Moogles as well, but the stats of Terra and Realm often lend them to being in the final party unless things arrange otherwise. Besides being able to do things like give Moogle skins to people, artists in the community have contributed a large amount of neat portraits and different sprites that you can give to characters. They've made characters from various other RPGs. Some of the most popular are sprites for all the Final Fantasy IV characters, so you can do a free Enterprise FF6 version with all of the characters replaced by FF4 characters, but there are some Chrono Trigger characters, some characters from like Toho and from Undertale and other games like that. Somebody even made a sprite for Soul Calibur's Talim, which as a Soul Calibur player myself and even a Soul Calibur speedrunner, I'd like to see more Soul Calibur characters done, but Talim's the only one I've seen thus far. But a whole lot of others as well. Another recent marathon showing of this had even some Chocobo sprites, I think, and a couple of other amusing ones for some of the characters. A fish, like the fish that swim around on the island that Celis has to catch. That's an available sprite you can use. All sorts of crazy options for customizing the look of this. Strago's original name was Stragus as well, Stragus Magus, or however you want to pronounce that. It was reduced to Strago mostly because of the character limits. They were only able to fit 6 per character, and Stragus happens to add up to 7. That's one of the more simple changes. Besides Tina becoming Terra because it was more exotic. Tina is a very normal name to Americans. My sister is named Tina, while Terra sounds more exotic to us, but the Japanese think Tina is a neat name and fairly exotic and foreign. One of the more interesting changes was Sabin, whose original name was Mash, short for Mashius. I believe, Italian name, which fits since his last name is Figaro. Why that got changed to Sabin, I have no idea. Last look at the Demon Moogle. Now this sprite is unique for this scene, the Terra flying sideways. So there's no replacement for that. So the Moogle suddenly turned into Esper Terra, and then we'll change back into a Moogle here at the end of this. That's the main part of the Moogle-centric version of the ending. Now we'll just fly around, have the credits, and see a lot of human characters interacting. So with all those scenes out of the way, that's the majority of what I wanted to show here. We could go ahead and finish up the whole thing if you want to finish sharing the music, or you can take over and bring this marathon to a close. Once again, thanks for letting me be a part of it, be the ending run for it. I've done quite a few online marathons, but I've never been a closing act before, so this is a neat new experience for me.
Well, I'm going to hop in here real fast to say a big thank you to you for doing such a great job bringing this to a close. It has been a fantastic event. I have enjoyed all of what we've done, and hope we're able to do bigger and bigger things next year. Thank you, everyone who hung out this afternoon. It's been